Welcome to OutKick The Tailgate, presented by Farmfolio. We are live in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's the biggest college football game of the weekend. Ole Miss at Alabama. Jill Savage, Jonathan Hutton. We're missing one.
We're missing Chad. Chad is on a bachelor party in Scottsdale, Arizona. This has been a well-planned trip for Chad Withrow, and he misses the biggest college football game on tour so far with OutKick and Fox.
Serves him right.
Yeah, but I think he's doing okay.
He is.
He's doing okay. He picks up with us next week in College Station, but he misses a great game today with Alabama and Ole Miss.
We checked in with him last night. He's still alive and well. No rattlesnakes have gotten him yet down there in Scottsdale. But yeah, you're mentioning it. Ole Miss, Bama. We look at this game. This is one of those games that everybody has circled on their calendars.
Yeah, and for good reason. Look, I mean, this was a top game last year with Ole Miss, and they tied 42-all in the fourth quarter. Shootout. Over-under, 80 points is what people are expecting today. The question is, does it go way over that or way under that as we get to Bryant-Denny Stadium later this afternoon? So what does Lane Kiffin have in store for Nick Saban with the week to prepare?
Well, Lane Kiffin last week, they had a bye. Ole Miss didn't play last week, and he was trying to go out and say, shh, everybody, it's okay. Alabama, they have weaknesses. Don't worry. You don't need to be pointing them out. You don't need to be giving Nick Saban any more ammo. I feel like this is a game that Nick Saban, he always is that guy that will come out and try and motivate his team, right? And those non-conference games, we always see him like, oh, this group needs to do well, or this group is underperforming, and he motivates his guys. Saban doesn't have to do any of that this week. He can just stay silent because all the national media is doing it for him.
Yeah, they're doing all the talking because of the expectation for how close this game should be. Keep in mind it was, 63-48 last year. That was the second closest game for the Tide on their run to the championship. Whenever they played Florida, that was the closest game in the SEC title game. Second closest was Ole Miss in the regular season. So that gets the attention of Alabama because that's a close game for the Tide, right? The spread is 14.5. It's been that about all week. It opened up 21, moved to 14, and stuck there. That should grab Alabama's attention. And look, they know what happened last year. They know what this offense is capable of. And we know what dual threat quarterbacks can do against Alabama's defense.
When you look at the Ole Miss defense, there has been so much talk. The Ole Miss defense is significantly better, right? This is what we keep hearing over and over again. I'll give them that they are better. You can see that they're better. But are they good enough now to go on the road at a number one team and get it done?
Well, that's the question. Can they find one or two more stops than what they did a year ago? Kiffin said last year that he felt like every time his offense had the football, they had to go get touchdowns because they were allowing yards and touchdowns and time of possession. Maybe he doesn't feel that way as much. The win after Louisville in week 1, he was quick to point out the defense in that route more than he was his offense and his great quarterback in Matt Corral. So I think he believes more in his defense. This was a adequate Ole Miss defense. This is not some great leap into the tops of the SEC by any means, but it's significantly improved over last year. And that could get them over the top in a game like today, even if it is on the road. I'm not going that far, Jill. We'll have our picks later in the show. I do think it is a great game today, though, this afternoon here in Tuscaloosa.
We're going to be breaking down this game all day long. We're going to have Glenn Guilbeau, the OutKick SEC writer, coming and joining us. Jay Barker, the former Bama quarterback, will be here on set with us in hour number 2. And in hour number 3, Lance Taylor will join us to help break down all of Ole Miss, Alabama. But there is one other really big game in the SEC that we need to touch on, and that is Arkansas at Georgia. It's a big one. I think that everybody's looking at it and saying, okay, Arkansas, you had your fun. That was a good first 4 weeks, but now it's your real test.
Yeah, two things come to mind. First, we get to see KJ Jefferson on display, and I hope he's healthy with the bruised knee and everything's okay there. Because if he is, I am all over Arkansas on the points in this. 18.5 against Georgia. But on this flip side of this, Jill, this is also, to me, where Georgia proves they are really elite, like the class above everyone else in the East and West other than Alabama. We had the discussion last week. Do we think there's an unbeaten team in the SEC? I said there's 2 at the end of the year when they meet for the SEC title, Alabama and Georgia. Can Arkansas spring the upset and keep this game close? To me, 4-0. They've won every game by double digits. This is a different animal today in Athens that Arkansas goes against. You're a believer, though, in your newly found team, the Razorbacks.
Yeah, so we had the SEC tour, the bus tour. We took it to Fayetteville. That was my first stop on the tour. I know you guys started in Knoxville. I joined in Fayetteville. So there is a certain kinship, if you will, for the Arkansas fan base. They were great. They treated us so well. And I feel like it's one of those bandwagons that was so easy to jump on because we liked the people. We liked the team. Sam Pittman had a great turnaround in that program. So for me, I am a believer. It has been fun. I don't know if I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they're going to go in and beat Georgia in Athens today, but I will say I really like this team and what they've been able to do.
Well, and now they face Georgia, who's allowing like 5.3 points per game defensively. I mean, just a different standard and different depth. And I think that ultimately that could be what shows up today for both Alabama and Georgia is the depth of both of these rosters, because Arkansas and Ole Miss are two quality teams. But to me, there's a different level in the SEC with Alabama and Georgia. You need some things to go your way. Kiffin has been preaching that. Pittman certainly needs that as well on the road. And here's Arkansas, who really goes in with nothing to lose. 2 years ago, they lost to Western Kentucky and their coach was fired. And now the complete turnaround, it's been an about-face, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. There's a style of game today where you leave thinking Arkansas got a win, even with a loss, with how they play in Athens, because it'll show a lot about their moxie.
And you look at the games last week that both teams played. We were there at Georgia Vandy in Nashville, your hometown, last week, and it felt like Georgia had a bye week while playing a game.
Yes.
And you look at Arkansas, and they were beaten up by Texas A&M. They aren't coming in 100% healthy, just like Georgia was able to get healthy against Vandy.
Right, and consider that Georgia's already played two SEC opponents in South Carolina and Vandy, and Clemson. And yet we're still talking about where they are in the pecking order of all this. So, whenever we started the season and Georgia won that tight game in Charlotte, OutKick in the bus, and Clay was there, we were discussing, okay, look at the schedule after Clemson for Georgia. They'll be in Atlanta for the SEC title. How quickly things have turned, because this is a bigger test now on paper going into week 5 than what Clemson gave Georgia in week 1. Arkansas presents that for them based on what they've produced so far. I can't wait to see it. The spread is very large for a reason. I think they're giving way too much respect to Georgia. I would love Arkansas on the points today, but I don't see Arkansas winning in Athens.
Do you remember a better college football weekend than this one? Like this is definitely the best weekend that we've had.
This is like a 2015 SEC slate, and they've set it up perfectly today, where they have the triple header. Florida Kentucky kicks off at 5 o'clock Central, 6 Eastern. That leads into a nightcap in the Tiger Bowl with Auburn and LSU. It is a great slate of games across the Southeastern Conference, and it's not even top heavy with the top 2 games we're discussing today.
I can't wait. As a college football junkie, like
awesome.
Today is the day that you are absolutely waiting for on the schedule.
Well, and here we are at Innisfree in Tuscaloosa, and this place is going to be packed as people start coming downtown and getting ready for the game at kickoff at 3:30 Eastern.
I mean, if you're in town right now, come on
coming
by. We are going to be here. They're opening up early for us here at Innisfree, so all the food, all the drinks, everything is going to be right here at Innisfree in Tuscaloosa. And let's go ahead. Are we good with Paxton, everybody? All right.
Oh, look at
yes.
Paxton.
We're here, guys.
She has a special guest. Paxton, what do you got going on this morning?
So somehow we managed to break into the bar at 8 a.m. I'm here with CEO and founder of Farmfolio, Dax Cook. How are you doing this morning?
Doing fantastic. It's great to be back in Alabama.
Yeah, I don't know how we convinced him to get here at 8 a.m., but we did, so I'm happy you're here. Hometown game.
That's right.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. We're playing Joey Freshwater, Joey Grovewater, Joey Saltwater, whatever you want to call him. The tide is strong, and Farmfolio's in the house. It's the first time being back in Tuscaloosa in a while since COVID, so we're really jacked to be here.
I love that. And you were along for the ride in Gainesville. I'm pretty sure we saw you there. So now we're here in Tuscaloosa. This is my first time here for a game. What can I expect as a new person walking in on campus?
Well, you're going to have to go to the quad. I think it's going to be electric today on the quad. Everybody's going to be out. It's the first SEC home game. Everybody's going to be just through the roof. We're excited. You're going to love it.
What do you got with this matchup, Ole Miss, Bama, objectively speaking?
I mean, I'm saying 42-17-ish. I'm feeling pretty strong.
That doesn't feel objective.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty strong. We got a strong crew. We've got your boy Tutu on the defensive side. We stole him from Tennessee. We're super excited about that, and I think Bryce Young and the boys are going to bring it home.
See, I wasn't going to touch on the fact that I'm a Tennessee fan because I was going to keep it, middle ground. But speaking of that,
Had to ring it up.
I've been saying feels like 98 since 98, so I've been a Tennessee fan my whole life. You've been a Bama fan your whole life. Do you remember what it's like to be a part of a losing program, or is just that a thing of the past?
Well, it's fading it faded a long time ago, but I was here from 2000 2005, so I had a rough go of it myself, so I can relate to what you're going through, but I'm super happy where we are right now. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask. It's a game day in Bama.
That's right.
What is a food item, a drink that you have to make it feel like an actual tailgate?
Well, I'm a little partial now. Anything with lime, of course, would be completing a tailgate. But barbecue, ribs, home of Dreamland, Archiballs, anything on the quad.
I love that. So I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to go get a drink at the bar, and I'm actually going to throw it back to you guys at the desk because there's no line right now. So we're going to take advantage of that. So.
You should, absolutely. Thanks so much, Paxton. I love it. They have a little Joy Freshwater. That's a big thing. We saw it last night. We were out on the town. There were like wristbands. They're excited for Lane Kiffin to come
Freshwater is
back.
a thing, right? Joey Freshwater is more than just an idea in Tuscaloosa, for sure.
Clay Travis walking alongside us here. He will join us in a couple of minutes here on the show. And before he does, let's get to a little fact or fiction presented by Farmfolio. Let's go ahead and start with Georgia. We've been talking about them for a while. So Kirby will win a national championship at Georgia. Fact or fiction?
This is a fact because there are cycles in the SEC, and Georgia is hitting theirs right now. Top 5 recruiting classes on an annual basis, Jill. Defensive depth that few can match. And, yeah, I think they're headed that way. They play a fast, physical, tone-setting style of football. They don't have elite quarterback play, but JT Daniels can get the job done for them, and they have elite talent on both sides of the football that can help them. I think it could be this year. And I think there's a scenario where we see, much like we saw a couple years ago, Alabama, Georgia Part 2, whenever the college football playoff rolls around.
Yeah, that's what everybody's saying. Everybody likes that Georgia schedule, the way that it lays out. They like it this year. Let's go to the next one. The Sooners are at Kansas State. The Wildcats have won the last 2 matchups. Chris Kleinman has yet to lose to Oklahoma, and that's not going to change this weekend.
See, I think this is fiction. Oklahoma, I think, is about to hit their stride. And I realize that they've had quarterback limitations with Rattler, but I think they also realize those things now. And now we see Lincoln Riley actually coach up this team. We all know Rattler can be better. Kansas State is not at their best right now, Jill. Skylar Thompson remains hurt at quarterback. So, and they were exposed. It was a struggling loss for Kansas State recently. What they averaged 2 yards per carry in their run game. That's hard to maintain possession when you can't run the football. And because of that, I think Oklahoma wins today.
It's actually going to be a little bit easier, I think, for Spencer Rattler on the road this week because he's not going to have his home fans booing him.
Well, so the under feels like the right play at FanDuel. The under's, last I checked, 53.5. I think it's a very low-scoring affair. I think Oklahoma's working through some things, though. I don't think they're nearly as bad as what people think. I don't think they're a top 5 team either, but they're not losing 3 in a row here.
No, but did you think that we would ever get to the point with a Lincoln Riley offense where Oklahoma would be relying on their defense and having the offense be the part that everybody's questioning going into games?
Well, but Rattler still led. He was booed at home, and he still led a game-winning drive right after that. So I think there's more to him than what may be happening at quarterback swaps across the country. So I want to give it a couple more games and get into conference play a little bit with him.
I think it's kind of impressive the way that the Oklahoma fans, right? It's like you have Bama, you have Oklahoma, and now you see Clemson like struggling.
Same thing.
And you see Bama on top for as long as they've been, and you see how hard it is once you're at the top to stay there.
Oklahoma's defense, though, they only allowed 230 yards to West Virginia in that game. So their defense will keep them in it. And again, I would still lean towards Rattler actually proving himself with Lincoln Riley. I'm betting more on Lincoln Riley in that aspect, to your point. The quarterback play with him has been pretty good since he's been at Oklahoma.
It's been okay. There's a couple Heismans behind him.
Yeah.
When we look at Arkansas, we've been talking about Sam Pittman and that turnaround. So fact or fiction, Sam Pittman engineered one of the best turnarounds in college football that we've seen in decades. Arkansas was 4-20 with an 0-16 record in the SEC in 2018 and 2019.
We've seen turnarounds like this, like what was Alabama before Saban? What was USC before Pete Carroll whenever he gave some energy and some life there? So I won't say in decades, but this year, this is the storyline with what Pittman has done with this team, because it is his mantra, everything about what he brings, offensive line play, in the trenches, a slugfest. That's what they do. And I'm intrigued to see how they hang with Georgia, because this is an Arkansas team that enters Week 5 4-0. They have Georgia, Ole Miss, Auburn in back-to-back weeks now, consecutive weeks. Could this be a 4-3 team when we look up at towards the end of October? Could be, but this is also an Arkansas team that no one really wants to play because of their style of play. You're in a boxing match in this.
I'm on the bandwagon.
I know you're all on.
Are you on the bandwagon?
I am on the bandwagon for the points today. Georgia is just at a different level. I feel the same way about Bama. I just think they're above the grade than the rest of the SEC.
All right, but you're not on the bandwagon for the season, just for the game today on the points?
I'm on board with Sam Pittman.
Okay.
Yeah, there are certain coaches that just fit the program. He fits Arkansas, right? Like there's a grit and manner about him and his style that this Arkansas team plays for.
When you look at that, right, at USC, they're going through a coaching search right now, trying to figure out that fit. And they always said, we need an SC guy, right? Sam Pittman he'll say it to you. I wasn't the first choice. I wasn't the second choice. I wasn't the third choice. But you know what? Maybe I was the right choice. And this is one of those things where you just find the right guy for the right situation.
Well, and that's it. And then you pair that with the quarterback, with Jefferson and what he's doing. Look, there's a reason that Derek Dooley was trying to keep Sam Pittman around whenever he was the coach at Tennessee. They didn't want to let him go. So there's true value with what he brings. But again, it's a tempo and a style that fits the program more than it is the program fitting the coach, right? And everything locked in, and now we're seeing them really. If they were to spring the upset today on the road, this is an Arkansas team that's top 4 next week. And they're facing Ole Miss, who, if they spring the upset today, who knows what happens? I think Ole Miss right now in the early line for next week is favored by 7. How much would that line change based on the 2 results today?
Drastically.
Yeah,
drastically. I look at this and I just think it's such a great weekend in college football. It's a great weekend for teams like Arkansas to go out and showcase what they're able to do, much like that Florida game against Bama. And I don't want to say it too loud here since we're in Tuscaloosa, but everybody gave Florida credit for coming back and fighting in that game. And it's I feel kind of like Arkansas has that opportunity to an attaboy in a loss.
No, yeah. It's not if you lose, it's how you lose, right? I believe in that mantra. Today, though, look, what made the Florida-Alabama game fun for the casual college football fan is Alabama looked mortal. They won the game. People forget that. They were treated after that win on the road in the SEC like they lost to Florida in the second half. That blew my mind, how people quickly flipped to Florida, and it was a loss for the Gators. But it made football fun because Alabama wasn't winning 42-10 at the college football game of the week across the SEC. That, you were tuned in and dialed into the fourth quarter for what was a great finish. That's what people are clamoring for right now, and that's what we hope to see with Arkansas, Georgia today in Athens, and what we could see with Ole Miss.
There's some parity in college football.
It's back, yeah. It's evening out. It's still I still think the SEC is very top-heavy with the 2 teams, but I do see the gap closing a bit this season. It's going to be a fun race in the SEC East and West.
we have Florida, Kentucky. There's a lot of other really good games in the SEC this weekend.
The Wildcats, I'm still a believer. I like the pairing of Cohen as the new offensive coordinator there. He has anybody that Sean McVay touches gets the blessing. He's had that with the Rams. Now he's at Kentucky, pairing that with Stoops' defense. And Stoops and his offense in years past have been nothing like this. You know, the play action, air attack. To me, that is a sign that he's buying in preseason to the fact that he actually has the horses now to pull off some of the things and the aspects of this offense that they did not recruit to in the past. Levis, I need to see more from him. He started the season strong, and since then there's a lot to be desired. A lot to be desired last week against South Carolina. They turned the football over 3 times, still won that game by 6. Bigger challenge here. At home, though, under the lights in the Commonwealth, I like the Wildcats in this because I think they will surprise a lot of people offensively with their schedule. Their defense with Stoops will get it done. Florida's going to have both quarterbacks this evening as well. There are a lot of people buying Florida after the matchup against Alabama. I think people are overlooking Kentucky a bit throughout this schedule early on. They are ready for tonight.
The fans here in Tuscaloosa are still waking up. It was a late night for a lot of the fans.
Early morning.
Early morning now for them. They would be booing, though, if we were talking about Auburn. But Auburn at LSU is going to be a big, big one this weekend.
Yeah, and the last time that Auburn won consecutive games over LSU was 99-2000. It's been since 1999 that they beat LSU on the road. Tigers versus Tigers, and you feel like, and Chad pointed this out earlier this week on OutKick, that the loser of this game can't really have a definitive good season, right? You look back on it and you think the winner goes on to do some things. The loser looks over and thinks what could have been at season's end. So this is a fork in the road for both. And speaking of the battle for second or third in the West, this determines that.
I'm so excited. Like this game, to me, it's like you're saying, like there's a lot to play for in this one because it is going to be defining of an entire season in just one weekend.
And then the storyline is the beauty of the transfer portal at quarterback.
It shows you exactly how powerful that is.
Former LSU quarterback T.J. Finley, now at Auburn, comes off the bench, leads the game-winning drive in a game that they shouldn't have won against Georgia State. And Bo Nix gets benched in that game. The storylines galore going back now to Baton Rouge, where Finley grew up 50 miles outside of Baton Rouge and the college where he started. It's quite the atmosphere. And keep in mind, too, this is a defense for LSU that did pretty well against Mississippi State. So now we get to see them go against Auburn and the backup quarterback, and a quarterback they know well.
We are going to be joined by Clay Travis.
Is he here?
Coming up. He is here. He has a big face on a bus. You can't miss it over here at Ennis-Free. So if you're in Tuscaloosa, come on by and go ahead and tweet us your questions at OutKick360. Comment on YouTube. We'll get those questions in for Clay. You can say whatever you want to Clay. We don't care. We'll ask you whatever he has. So coming up when we come back, Clay Travis will join us right here at OutKick The Tailgate.
There's never been a more challenging time to be an investor. Your stock markets are overvalued by every measure with record low cap rates. Cryptocurrency can go from boom to bust overnight, and inflation is making everything hard to predict. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sit back and watch your money grow? That's where Farmfolio comes in. Farmland ownership made easy. Farmland's an asset class that's often overlooked, but it's one that's consistently delivered higher returns than other investments with significantly less volatility. You can buy a farm lot from Farmfolio, and we'll manage every aspect of your farm property, from crop care, harvesting, and sales of your produce through our company-owned packing facilities and international sales offices. With Farmfolio, farmland ownership has never been easier. Simply sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Farmfolio, you own, we farm.
Catch me if you can. All right.
Welcome back to OutKick The Tailgate, presented by Farmfolio. The man, the myth, the legend, Clay Travis joins us now.
How late did you guys stay here last night?
Later than you, which is not going to happen every weekend for me, but I'm going to use it this weekend because we actually made it out later than Clay.
Not by much, though.
I mean, I have an 11-year-old with me, so
I didn't want to start that this way, so quickly, just diving into it.
I was just curious because I left. I don't know. We got home, I think, around 10, if I'm not mistaken, or back to the hotel. So I was curious how much longer you guys stayed. By the way, I want to tell you guys, everybody knows inflation's rising. Stocks, they may be well about to tank. They certainly are near all-time highs. Taxes. Anybody paying attention to what's going on in D.C. right now, the budget's a mess. Nobody knows what's going to happen with infrastructure. You need to protect your assets right now by buying a piece of farmland today. Head over to farmfolio.net/clay. That's Farmfolio, FARMFOLIO.net/clay to learn more about farmland ownership. Great hedge against inflation. Fabulous place to put your money if you're trying to figure out where to put it right now. Contact Farmfolio at farmfolio.net. That's farmfolio.net/clay. And get hooked up there. Those guys are doing fantastic work to help people diversify their portfolios and protect. So, I want you to diversify your portfolio and take two different underdogs in today's games. I absolutely love Ole Miss, plus 14.5. And I love Arkansas. That number continues to trend down. I know it was 19 earlier this week when I bet it the first time, and I think it's down to like 15 or 15.5.
Oh, I have it at 18. I feel great about it now.
Yeah, you bought it. You got a couple of points.
So the Ole Miss line opened at like 21 early last week.
Yeah, I didn't even see that.
And then it dropped by 7.
Yeah, I mean, the 14.5 is significant. I thought it would go under 14 personally. I just think the number's way too much with Lane Kiffin having 2 weeks to get ready.
Yeah.
With the fact that this Ole Miss offense has not been stopped by anybody so far. And I think we're going to have a whale of a game here in 6 hours, basically, from Tuscaloosa. So I can't wait. I've got my son. We're going to the game. You guys are going to the game. And it should be a heck of an environment, heck of a scene. 100,000 people. This is going to be. Last year, they had a 25% capacity or whatever it was, but it didn't feel like a big game environment, even though, to their credit, they had crowds present in SEC stadiums. This, I think, is going to be a celebration of sorts, not only for this game and its significance, but also for last season and the games that people weren't able to attend and have this same kind of environment.
So I want to touch on Corral in a bit because he's phenomenal. There has not been as much talk about Bryce Young as there has been Matt Corral to this point. That could change today because Young was not great against Florida. I think he has to be great today against Ole Miss.
Well, I mean, to me, the question is, has the Ole Miss offense in any way evolved from last year when they couldn't stop anyone? Can they get a couple of punts? If you're not going to get punts, can you at least play a frenetic style of ball where maybe you force Bryce Young into some mistakes? And if that were to happen, it's a little bit like a tennis match almost, where you want to break the opponent's serve, right? You got two big, powerful serves. You're thinking, hey, maybe we're going to have to be in a tie break. Every time that you can force a punt or get a turnover is going to be more significant, I think, because this is not going to be one of those games where each team has the ball 10 times and they only score a couple of times each. This is going to be the kind of game, I think, where it's going to be really hard to get them off the field without giving up points.
I look at this line, the over-under was right around 79.5.
Yeah, it's a monster game.
And my Hawkeyes, they actually put up 51 points last night, which is unusual.
And they were only a 3-point favorite, but I think Maryland turned the ball over 6 times.
6 interceptions for the Iowa defense. But when you look at that, that's a huge number.
Yeah, look, I mean, the general rule, and this is the longtime gambling prognosticators, is take the under on low numbers and the over on big numbers. But, when you're talking about a number all the way up basically to 80, if one team comes out a little bit slow, if you ended up with somebody's quarterback getting dinged, right, and they're able to have to come out for a couple of series, anything that goes a little bit awry, 80 has to be a high pace the whole way. And even in college football overtime, which oftentimes will steal away unders and let overs hit. Now you have to go for 2 in the second overtime. So for anybody who was watching that NC State Clemson game, it used to be that you might have to go forever. That doesn't necessarily apply here in the same form or fashion.
We've been talking. You have your 11-year-old Lincoln here with you. How did the biggest Tennessee fan in the world end up with a Bama fan as a son?
Well, first of all, thanks.
That's right.
First of all, Tennessee doesn't win very much. And so anybody out there who remembers being 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, those are really significant years in terms of your fandom. And not surprisingly, inside of the Travis household, we watch college football all day. And so I know some people are like, oh, I watch my favorite team. I mean, from noon Eastern all the way basically to midnight. If we're in the house, there's multiple games going. Everybody's paying attention. And both of my boys, the 2 oldest, we'll see what happens with the youngest because he's still so young. But my 2 oldest boys have become massive college football fans. And when you watch that many games, they want to watch a team that wins. And I've got, kind of a big, I would say, platform. I think I've got the best job in America. But I didn't want to be one of those dads who insisted on who his sons or daughters ended up rooting for. And so I kind of let him pick his own teams. And unfortunately, he made a really bad choice.
Well, but they're also
he's having the greatest weekend of all time. He
is having the greatest. I mean, it's for purposes of being a dad. So I brought him in, and he told me last night when we were going to bed. He said, "Dad, that was the best day ever, and we haven't even gotten to go to the game yet." So if you are a dad or a mom and you get to have those days where you spend and your kid tells you at the end of the day. Now, he's an enthusiast. He's an awesome, fun kid. But when you get to the end of the day and he says, or she says, when you're a parent, hey, this was the best day ever, dad or mom. Those are pretty winning days. And I like to think because we've got one who's a teenager now, and he'll be 14 in January. When you get to be a teenager, you have your own life. You have your own things that you want to do. And so what I've tried to do is get my boys out when they're young and they still really want to be hanging out with mom or dad and do as much as possible with them. So, I've got a busy job. I've got a unique job in that I'm on the road a lot. And so if I can bring him on the road with me, he is he's just walking on air. So he's on the bus right now watching pregame shows and getting ready for I think what he believes is going to be the second greatest day of his life. So we finished, by the way, at Dreamland Barbecue. He thought that was absolutely incredible. We had a lot of ribs. And
he was mic'd up all day.
He was mic'd up all day. He got to walk all over the campus. He's I don't know where he gets it, but he's a little bit of a ham. And he had an incredible time. So it's a big day, long day. But like I said, he was mic'd up, and he got to be a part of a lot of the programming that we're doing. And he's still fired up this morning. We were doing teases for a big noon kickoff, and he had on an Alabama helmet, sunglasses, throwing football. So he's ready to live his best life.
It's quite the slate of SEC games today.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, I think this is the thing that's so great about college football. I mean, look, I like the NFL. But the NFL, to me, overloads things by having pretty much every game kick off at 1 Eastern, and then a few games at that 4:15 window Eastern. And then they have the Sunday night game, Monday night game. What I love about college football is sort of the cornucopia of excess. And the fact that you can watch so many different games kicking off all day long. I love to gamble and kind of track the day as it goes along. And I think you got to give credit to Mike Mulvihill at Fox, who is a super smart guy inside of the Fox Sports universe. And when he looked at the college football schedule, he said, hey, I think the most underutilized part of the day is the noon Eastern kick. Because at that time, one of the things that was frustrating about college football sometimes was they would save the best games and they would all kick off in the evening, right? So Saturday night, you might have 3 or 4 games going off at once, and the early games were not that good. And he had looked at the entirety of the college football schedule, and he said the place where there is the most demand that is being the least satisfied is right at noon Eastern. And so if you're on the West Coast and you wake up 9 a.m., boom, great game kicking off. They're going to have Michigan, Wisconsin right out of the big noon kickoff game. That is on the schedule before the season, it looked like it might be a matchup of two undefeated teams. Instead, obviously, Michigan's undefeated and Wisconsin's trying to find themselves. But they have sort of rebranded noon as a signature time to start everybody's day. So I think it's just made the entire day spread out some of the quality of the games. And once they did that, then the SEC started putting on a little bit better games at noon, it seems to me. I mean, that Arkansas-Georgia game is a noon kickoff game.
Yeah.
And the older I get, by the way, the more I like the early kickoff games. When I was a kid, 20s, I would sit around, I'd be like, oh my God, like why in the world are they playing football at
the Jefferson Pilot,
the 11:30 a.m. Jefferson Pilot game, and now they're on at for Central Time people, like where we're sitting right now. I mean, it's still super early for them to have opened the bar here. I mean, it's 8:30. We got people starting to percolate, starting to show up, and this is I think the 2:30 CBS game, 3:30 Eastern is also a signature. So they took advantage of it, and I think it was really smart.
What can Arkansas prove to you today?
Well, I think they've already proven a lot. I mean, I don't think there's very many people, Arkansas fans included, maybe even Sam Pittman, Barry Odom, and Kendall Briles included, the defensive and offensive coordinators there, who would have expected for Arkansas to beat Texas as soundly as they did. We were at that game in Fayetteville. And certainly to follow it up in Jerry World with a neutral site beatdown that they put on Texas A&M. So Arkansas is already the champions of the state of Texas, which is a big deal for Arkansas. And they've already proven a lot to me. But if they go on the road, which I think they will, and their defense stands up against this Georgia offense, and more importantly, if their offense can have some modicum of success against the Georgia defense, which basically has been an iron curtain, an iron wall so far. If that is, if they're able to keep it somewhat close, lose by 10 or so, which is what I anticipate happening, then I think Arkansas will have branded themselves as a solid top 10 to top 15 team, which is an incredible accomplishment in year two with Sam Pittman.
We were talking about Sam Pittman and the turnaround that he has orchestrated so far, and it being one of the best that we've seen in the last couple of years in college football. How do you rank this? What do you see from Sam Pittman that you like? The style that he's brought to Arkansas, the kind of demeanor that the team plays with, and everything that he's brought.
Well, I think right now Sam Pittman would be the national coach of the year in college football. And I think Mel Tucker at Michigan State would probably be number two if I had to vote the two best performances so far. And Sam Pittman, to me, reminds me quite a bit of the Phil Fulmer era at Tennessee. And why do I say that? Sam Pittman is an old offensive lineman who is his dream job is Arkansas. Phil Fulmer obviously never really coached anywhere else other than Tennessee. And when Fulmer really had things rolling at Tennessee, he had David Cutcliffe as his offensive coordinator, and he had John Chavis as defensive coordinator. And I think what Sam Pittman has done is he has a great offensive coordinator in Kendall Briles, who is running his dad Art's Baylor system at Arkansas, which has obviously been much copied all over college football. And then Barry Odom, who's a former head coach at Missouri and a longtime, really super successful defensive coordinator. I think that combination of great offensive and defensive coordinator has allowed the foundation of Arkansas football to be really strong, where they're going to get the best out of both sides of the ball there. And that's somewhat similar, it feels like to me, old offensive line coach Pittman, much like Fulmer, when Tennessee had it rolling at its best. That's the same kind of system that they had in place.
Well, this gives Tennessee fans hope, watching what Arkansas is doing. Arkansas, other than Vandy, Arkansas has had the worst SEC record over the last 11 years. 2 years ago, they're losing to Western Kentucky. And now,
they
2 years later,
they lost 20, I believe it was 20 straight SEC football games. And I think you have to give a lot of credit to the seniors, the guys who stayed at Arkansas, fought through, and now have themselves in the top 10 caliber position. Again, Vegas would tell us there's a big gap between Georgia and Alabama and everybody else in the SEC. I'm not sure that I buy into that, and certainly I don't buy into the gap being as many points
it's not
as
18.
it is. I don't think so. I mean, we'll see. I mean, we got kickoff there, which is great. We were talking about earlier. They're going to kick off in a little bit over 2 hours. So that's another one of the great games that's starting at noon, and we'll be walking around, checking out the scene here in Tuscaloosa. But, yeah, I think it gives hope to anybody. I've said for a long time You can tell, you know whether you have the right coach by year 2. Year 2. Year 1, you usually get a sign if things are going to be good. You get a win that you wouldn't have anticipated in year 1, but the overall wins and losses record is not necessarily there. By year 2, you know. And the stat that I put into play is, since 1992, I believe I am correct in this, every coach that has won an SEC championship has won at least 9 games by year 2. So that kind of puts it in perspective, and I'll give you a couple of examples. Dan Mullen didn't win an SEC championship game, didn't go to one at Mississippi State, but he won 9 games by year 2. James Franklin won 9 games by year 2 at Vanderbilt. And it looks like Sam Pittman is on track potentially to win 9 by year 2 at Arkansas. People can say, oh my God, this is an unbelievable, impossible rebuilding job. But if you are going to have a really good coach, by year 2, he finds a way to get to 9. Now, it doesn't mean you have to. You can still have a decent coach. But if you're going to have a coach who changes the trajectory of a program, you know by at least 1 win in year 1, and by year 2, you have got that signature 9-win season.
In these 2 big SEC matchups that we keep talking about, it's former assistants going against their old head coaches. Sam Pittman was on Kirby Smart's staff at
That's
Georgia.
a great point.
Lane Kiffin, obviously, as everybody knows, Joey Freshwater here at Alabama. It's interesting to go out to see them go out and have all the success and then kind of have that fun, camaraderie against their own
it's
old
the
teams.
big brother, little brother dynamic. I mean, I believe I'm correct. Nick Saban is 23-0 against former assistants. He still hasn't lost a game. And remember, I mean, the Sam Pittman hiring was almost universally denigrated as an awful hire. And part of that was because Arkansas was in such a tough spot that a lot of different people turned down that job, which leads to, and I don't know who got the first credit for this statement, but it's a good line that has been deployed a lot. Anytime a coach is not the first choice, which happens a lot, right? People oftentimes don't get their first choice. One of the smartest things that they can say is that, at the press conference, they weren't their wife's first choice either. And that's turned out pretty well because and I don't know who the first coach was to say that, but it kind of puts in perspective that sometimes the right choice isn't the first choice, and there are lots of great examples of that. I mean, famously, I think Pete Carroll was the 6th or 7th choice of SC back in the day. They couldn't get anybody else to take that job, and sometimes you end up at the right place even though you had to go through a lot of different people to get there. And it feels like that's what Arkansas has had happen.
What about our hosts today here? We're live at Innisfree. How great is this?
This is a phenomenal. So for anybody who might be streaming us as they wake up in their
morning
in their hotels or in their homes.
Unfortunately, this is just water right now.
Yeah,
this will change later.
I believe they have opened up the bar inside. I mean, they're usually not open here. They usually don't open this early for us until like 10, I don't think. So we've already got some people. We appreciate everybody who's you got great taste. And so we appreciate people who are already coming down here and hanging out. But it is going to be, I think, absolutely perfect weather. And there are people just ready to celebrate. To me, and I've made this argument for a while, and again, thanks to Innisfree Pub for hosting us here. I think what's going on is college football in particular, but also NFL fans, are leading the country back into normalcy. And my radio show co-host, Buck Sexton, is going to be here later. He's never been to a college football game.
Which is unreal.
Which is crazy. I mean,
He's almost 40 years
almost
old.
40. He's never been to a
This
big
is the way to
college
do
football game. Yeah,
this is the way to
come
do it.
for something like this.
Yeah.
But to be in a stadium with 100,000 people without fear, without masks, without trying to do something crazy like check vaccine mandates or whatever else, people are ready to live their lives all over the South, and in particular, and I think all over the country to a large degree. And I think football fans are leading us back to a great deal of normalcy. And people ask all the time, like, how do you get back to normal? You behave like things are normal. And I've been living my life normally since May of last year. Sometimes that upsets people. But I think college football tailgating, college football fandom, 100,000 people going crazy, sitting shoulder to shoulder. The great thing about football is it crosses boundaries, right? whether you're a neurosurgeon, whether you're a janitor, whether you are white, black, Asian, Hispanic, gay, straight, doesn't really matter who you voted for, any of that stuff. When your team scores, you don't think about the things that are different. You think about the thing that is uniting you, which is a fandom. And I think that's one of the great things about SEC football in particular, but football in general, is it crosses a lot of different tribes and brings people across identity levels together. And I think it's one of the best things that America does.
And Jill, to that point, like I was thinking this week about the crowds all on tour, wherever we've been. It's been awesome. Think about the crowds we'll see today at Bryant-Denny. What will be the scene in Athens? What will be the scene in Foxborough as Brady goes back to face the Patriots this week? A year ago, thank goodness that matchup didn't happen a year ago. Like this is what sports are all about, and the fans mattered. I forgot how much I missed the fans until you heard the roar of a full stadium again.
It's incredible. We get the great honor of being outside Innisfree right now, and it's a great setup, but I want to go inside because we have the taste of the tailgate. Paxton maybe has the best job of all of us. She gets to eat the awesome food at all of the stops that we go to.
We're pulling off a lot now.
Yeah, to answer your question, Clay, the bar is open. We've already been drinking. I think it opened at like 7:30 for us. So thank you, Trip, for opening that for us.
Anytime. The Irish coffees were going good this morning.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I am here with Trip Rogers, owner of Innisfree Pub, this awesome place that we are at. This is like the hottest spot in town. I'm kind of picking up on.
Well, hopefully it's one of them. That's what we like to say. You know, as long as people come in and have fun, that's what we care about.
I love that. So how long have you guys been around?
We opened up in May of 1998 in Tuscaloosa, so it's been 23 years.
Nice. So this is kind of like your pride and joy. This is your baby.
It's everything. We built it with our own two hands. So
love that.
That's what we like. That's what we do.
I love that. So, taste of the tailgate. We are going to dive into some wings. It looks like, what are these? It's 8:30, 8:45. Why not eat some hot
Who
wings?
doesn't like wings at 8:30 on a Saturday morning to game day? These are Irish Gold wings. We bottle our Irish Gold sauce. We came up with it about 11 years ago, and everyone seems to like it. And dig in, enjoy.
Yeah, it feels right to eat. I'm allowed to eat them. Am I allowed to just go for it? Okay. And I'm doing this with one hand, so we got to add that to the resume. So to describe this to the hosts out there and the people watching, what taste do we have here? Walk us through this combination.
This is our Irish Gold sauce.
Yeah.
It's a honey mustard based sauce, and that's about all I can tell you. So we don't want to give too much away, but it's good on everything. You can dip pretzels in it. You can dip chips in it, fries in it. Put it on steaks. Put it on chicken. It's fantastic, and it's been doing well. We bottle it. We sell it. You can go online and buy it at our website. So it's working out.
So I'm going to ask you a curveball while looking like a train wreck on camera. You said this sauce could be used for anything. We're obviously eating wings for breakfast.
Yeah.
Could we put this on eggs, bacon? Could we make a sandwich? Could we get fancy?
Potatoes, eggs. I mean, anything you can think of, Irish Gold is good on.
Okay. And then we're going to pair this with some of your fries?
With our fries, and then later we might pair it with something else, maybe something with, some alcohol in it. It makes it even better.
Why do we have to wait till later?
Well, we got to digest those Irish coffees we had earlier. So, and once we'll get the second round going.
So I'm not going to be able to be taken seriously because I know I have sauce on my face. But why is this place called Innisfree? I have to ask.
So Innisfree is from the William Yeats poem called The Lake Isle of Innisfree. And the poem's about him escaping the bright lights of the big city and finding his place to relax and have fun. Okay. And that's what we want people to do when they walk through the door.
Okay. I love that. Well, we're going to throw it back to you guys. We're going to keep eating some wings back here. We'll be back for Taste of the Tailgate in hour 2 and hour 3.
That was amazing, by the way, the poetry analysis. But I couldn't help but notice. Can we zoom in on the drink that he's got there?
Yeah.
What does RMFT stand for?
Oh, you know what? Clay just asked, what does the hat stand
I
for?
know what it stands
Roll
for.
motherfucking Tide.
We're not censored, so we're live. That's our
Welcome
wrap.
to the internet, ladies.
We're going to throw it back to you and leave it at that, okay?
So great. I knew what it stood for, but I wanted him to
That was
get
a nice
an
toss-up,
opportunity
Clay.
to
That was a
say.
nice softball toss-up.
Well,
Thank
I
you
just
for
thought
that.
it was amazing to go from, where does Innisfree come? It's an old poem.
Poetry.
It's
Beautiful.
like I'm a big fan of Yeats and Percy Bysshe Shelley and
That
all
just
these.
made the
old-
open. This is their show open.
I feel like we just had our Eli Manning moment, right?
Oh,
He
that's
thought
great.
that you could
The
censor
no.
live TV,
No.
and we're like,
advantage
you're just
of
flipping off America.
The advantage of digitally streaming right now is technically we are not subject to FCC restrictions and regulations. So over the years, it's been so sometimes frustrating for anybody who does live radio because inevitably callers call in, or occasionally, believe it or not, a host might misspeak and curse. So anyway,
No.
that's something that you have to be concerned about on radio that you don't have to be concerned about on this. And by the way, you guys are doing a really good job. I mean, each week, for people out there who have seen these, I'd encourage you to pay attention. And each week, we add a little bit more of a wrinkle to it. Next week we'll be at College Station. Then I think we're going to be down in Baton Rouge. And then maybe Oxford. We got a bunch of different moving parts. We're trying to hit as many different locations as possible. And so each week I think we're getting a little bit better. But that was fantastic from Paxton.
Yeah, we're going to hit our stride right at the SEC championship game.
Yeah, we'll be in Atlanta for that one, which should be really good.
All right, we're going to bring you in. So Farmfolio is presenting fact or fiction for us. This is a segment that we do while you're over doing your big stuff. This is what we do over here on our show.
All right.
So we thought we were going to bring you in on this. So I will throw out a topic.
And I just answer fact or fiction. I understand.
Simple as that.
I am like super smart like that.
Radio, TV,
Yeah.
pro. You
Yeah,
can't
there
get
you go.
anything by him. All right.
You ask me any question, I'll give you an answer.
The first one is Florida State, despite the 0-4 start, should give Mike Norvell more time. They fired Willie Taggart after 2 seasons. It's worse now. Can they do it again?
Man, it depends on who you can get. I always say that whenever you think about firing a coach, you need to know what your ceiling is and you need to know what your floor is. And so you want the ceiling and the floor, frankly, to be as close as possible. Because you don't want like, hey, we got this aspirational target. If we whiff on him, then we're going to fall all the way down. So where is Mike Norvell relative to the ceiling and the floor? To me, if I were running Florida State right now, if I were the AD of Florida State, I would call Hugh Freeze and I would say, come here and solve all our problems. And I think Hugh Freeze would go to Florida State, and I think he would win immediately. Or I would call Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, and I would say, leave Ole Miss, come to Florida State, best team in the ACC historically. You only have to beat Clemson instead of having to beat Alabama and Auburn and Texas A&M and Arkansas and LSU. Mississippi State, I'll toss them into, plus whoever's on the side of the East that's really good, Florida, Georgia, maybe one day Tennessee will be good again. Historically, in the ACC, Florida State has been the straw that stirs the drink. So, if I could get one of those two guys, yes, I would move on from Mike Norvell. But you have to have a realistic understanding and comprehension of whether or not you can do it.
Hutton, he just said he understood what we were doing here. But the lawyer in Clay could not give us a fact or fiction.
Well,
he gave us the
I can't give you a
options.
fact or fiction because I don't know who they can get. If I can get Hugh Freeze,
he's right in the middle somewhere.
if I can get Hugh Freeze,
that gray area.
First off, there's no way I'm leaving Ole Miss for Florida State right now with the leadership intact at Florida State. We heard it from Jimbo, right? I mean, there was turmoil there then.
Well, the challenge that Florida State has is they do not have the dollars or alumni base that your massive SEC schools have. And so if you compared, say, the athletic departments at Florida with Florida State, Florida has a lot better facilities. They have a lot more money. And same thing, by the way, is true at Miami, because you didn't ask about Manny Diaz, but there's such a dumpster fire going on right now at Florida State. But Manny Diaz just lost to Virginia on Thursday night, I think it was, or Friday. All the days run together. I think it was Thursday night. And they're sitting at 2-2. And things may go awry there in a big way. And Miami, while having a great historic pedigree, does not have, as a private school that's small, competing with all these big state schools. Remember, one of the great things from the Nevin Shapiro booster investigation at Miami was he said, like, hey, we're having to take guys to, like, strip clubs and to, like, yacht trips because we don't have the money to compete with the big SEC schools. And that's, frankly, what Gary Patterson just said at TCU recently. He was like, hey, we're in a free-for-all. We got to be able to pay.
Crazy outside-the-box idea for Florida State? Go get Deion.
Well, he would love to go there.
And he would not take no for an answer.
Yeah, I think the challenge is Deion hasn't won at a high level, whereas you look at Hugh Freeze, which is why I would say he eliminates
I like that name, but
and he's recruited all over the South.
Can he jump? Can you put him in there and he controls everything? Like we haven't seen that from the previous two coaches.
I think they're desperate enough where you could say, "Hey, I want to control everything," and they would acquiesce to it. All right, what else?
Fact or fiction? Auburn made a huge mistake firing Gus Malzahn.
No, I think that's fiction. Look, at some point you find out where the level of your water is with a coach, and Gus Malzahn, at times every fifth year or so, could take Auburn to a high level. But I think if you look around at what was going on elsewhere in the SEC, Auburn was losing standing, and they had to do something. Now, I think it remains to be seen whether Brian Harsin is the right hire, but I think that Gus Malzahn he was being paid as one of the best coaches in all of football, and he had reached his apex.
Yeah.
And so I think Auburn, he was on the downward trajectory of his career as opposed to still building. So I think they made the right decision there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's fiction. And look, national championship winner as the offensive coordinator, gets back as the head coach, goes to the title game in 2014 against Jameis Winston. We know they lose to Florida State. Beat Bama in 2019 and is fired a year later. That's the craziest part of all that.
What I would say, and I always think about this too for sort of life lessons, you can make the right decision to leave one job for another one, and the new job cannot work out. But I don't think you can go back, and I'll give you an example. I left CBS Sports line.com or whatever it was called at the time to go be an editor at Deadspin. It was the right decision for me to leave CBS and go to Deadspin. Deadspin, given the situation there, was not the right place for me to have gone, but it was the right decision to leave. That was the right timing. So I don't think when you make the decision to leave or you make the decision to move on from a coach, the next hire matters, but the choice of whether or not that coach should still be there, you can make the right decision there, which I think is the right decision, and still make the wrong choice as to who the coach is. So, the great thing about a coaching situation is you can always go get a new coach. Same thing with leaving a job. You can always go find a new job. So the trajectory can be the right move, and you can make the wrong hire. It still remains to be seen whether Brian Harsin is the right guy, so to speak.
Last up, the race for second in the SEC West will be more exciting than the race in the East.
For first?
For second.
Oh.
Because we know how that's going to play out.
Yeah, I mean, Florida and Georgia are the two best teams in the East. It would take a staggering shift in the perception for any other team. Maybe
if Kentucky won tonight.
If Kentucky got to 5-0 and beat Florida, that might upset the equilibrium that we anticipate. But I think you can make a case right now for Ole Miss or Arkansas. And look, I don't think LSU is awful. A&M without Haynes King has really struggled on the offensive side of the ball. But I think the race for second best team in the SEC West is far more interesting than the race for second best in the SEC East.
I think it's set up for Ole Miss to get second because they drew Tennessee and Vandy out of the East on their schedule. So to me, it's not as exciting as what could happen in the East, even though I think the level of play is much better in the West.
Yeah, well, Ole Miss is lucky because they get Vandy every year.
Right.
And historically, that's been a bit of a pillow fight. That's their
Meanwhile,
their
Arkansas gets
rival.
Georgia.
Well, this year, the rotating rival, yeah. So I think if I were betting right now, I think Ole Miss is the second best team in the SEC West and maybe the third best overall, right?
And then whoever wins tonight in the Tiger Bowl with LSU Auburn, they're in that mix too.
Yeah, I think so. Although I think LSU, notwithstanding their poor performance in the Rose Bowl to start the season, I think Auburn really was fortunate. Maybe they had some good friends in the SEC replay office in that game against Georgia State. And I'm still not sold. I know Penn State's 4-0, but I'm still not sold that Penn State is an elite level team. They play Iowa next week, right?
Let's go.
Yeah, we'll see.
5-0, baby.
50+.
Is somebody else a Hawkeye fan? I don't know. I wouldn't have expected that. Somebody's all in on Iowa. Oh, Penn
No,
State.
they're Penn
Oh,
State.
Penn State. Yeah, we'll
They're
see what happens.
They're going to lose. I hate to break it to them now, but
Penn
it's going
State's
to be
got
it's going to be fun for my
Indiana
Hawkeyes.
today, and
Yeah.
then you're going to have a top 5 matchup in at Iowa between, I think, Penn State and Iowa.
No big deal. Just where top 5 teams go to die. Kinnick Stadium. Hey, that's a wrap on this week's Farmfolio Fact or Fiction. To learn more about farmland ownership, contact Farmfolio at farmfolio.net/Clay. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys. You guys have got a lot of fun coming. What's coming next?
Glenn Gilbo, OutKick.com senior SEC writer, and Jay Barker, former Bama quarterback, will join us here in this next hour. Stay with us on OutKick The Tailgate.
Awesome. Keep up the good work.
OutKick The Tailgate, presented by Farmfolio, rolls on in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Ole Miss, Alabama. The biggest game in the SEC this weekend. Glenn Gilbo, OutKick.com senior SEC writer, joins us right now. Thanks for stopping by.
Hello, good morning.
Coffee only
Yes,
right now.
yes.
I asked already. The drink is only coffee. We haven't thrown anything in there yet. It's okay. It's
a work
tailgate,
day
though.
for Glenn. It's a work day.
It is a work day
It
because
is.
we have you covering the game for us today.
Yes.
So when you look at Ole Miss, Alabama, what's going to stick out to you that you're going to be looking for in this one?
Well, this Ole Miss offense is just unbelievable. I mean, they gave Alabama the best game Alabama had last year, and they're off to a great start this year, too. They lead the nation in yards. They lead the nation in points. They hadn't played anybody great yet, so that's what we're going to find out today.
What's different about this Ole Miss team?
I think their defense is a little better. Their defense was terrible last year. It was one of the worst defenses in the country along with LSU. But it looks like they're playing a little better on defense this year, so that's going to give them a chance, I think, against Alabama. And Alabama, I was at the Florida game, and Alabama didn't look great. You know, Florida really handled their defense well. In fact, Alabama's defense in the fourth quarter, the guys were holding their knees. Coach Saban even said they got tired in the second quarter. So if they had trouble with Florida, they're going to have trouble with Ole Miss.
When you look at this Ole Miss defense, everybody is saying that it has improved. I'll give you that. You just said, though, we don't really know who Ole Miss has played yet.
Right.
And is this Ole Miss defense ready to go on the road against a number one Alabama team? Are they there yet, right? They're improved, for sure. But is this going to be a test that's just a little too much for them?
Well, if you're asking me to pick the game, yeah, I think it will be. I think Alabama will win the game, but I think it's going to be a close game.
Okay.
I think Ole Miss is going to have a chance to win, but today is kind of litmus test Saturday because we see how good Kentucky is. They're undefeated and unranked. We're going to see if Ole Miss is for real. We'll see which team is worse, LSU or Auburn. So it's an interesting Saturday. Yeah, it's an interesting Saturday, but this is the biggest one.
It would appear Brian Robinson is back healthy at running back. And it would also appear that Alabama, for the first time in a while, is human at running back, right?
Exactly. And, human really more so on defense, I think. And that's what's going to make today interesting. You know, Ole Miss started off like on fire last year against Alabama, scored within a minute their first touchdown, and they were up 21-14 later in the second quarter. And talking to some of the Alabama players this week, they said that they're going to try to be more prepared early in this game and early in the before the snap, because Ole Miss really has a great pace. And I think that really caught them off guard last year. So Alabama's D is going to be ready for that.
And these two programs have produced the elite wide receivers over the years to the next level. Is it Williams? Is it Drummond? Who steps up for either offense biggest today with their quarterback play?
I would say, as good as Matt Corral is, he kind of makes everybody good. I think it's a game of quarterbacks. Bryce Young, Matt Corral, both from Southern California. Bryce is still coming along. He's kind of like Matt was at this time last year, maybe, though Matt was a little more experienced. This game could decide the Heisman Trophy. I mean, right now Matt is the favorite, but Bryce Young is right there. He hasn't thrown the ball as much as Matt, but he might today.
When we look at this game, Lane Kiffin returns to Tuscaloosa. There's a lot that it's been made about that. Of course, we know Nick Saban is 23-0 against his former assistant coaches. Where does Lane rank kind of on that list of the great assistant coaches that we've seen come out of Alabama?
Well, he and Kirby have been the closest to beating Nick. Kirby came really close in the championship game and has had some other good games. And then Lane had the game last year. Now, Lane almost beat Alabama when he was at Tennessee, lost 12-10, but he wasn't a pupil yet. He hadn't worked for Nick yet. Now, Jimbo Fisher at A&M has been the most successful coach. He's the only one of the group that won a national championship, but he has not played well against Saban. He hasn't really been close in a game. So really, right now, it's Lane and Kirby, and Jimbo gets another shot next week.
Lane with the week off to prepare for Saban, right? And the mantra, the statements coming out from Oxford, hey, they're great. We need a lot of things to go our way. We need some turnovers. We need the ball bouncing, the 50-50 thing. What wrinkles do you expect Kiffin to throw in with the week off to prepare for today?
Well, I don't think the week off.
Do they force the issue?
Yeah, the week off was too early for Ole Miss. Lane even said that. You don't need a week off after just 3 games. That probably will hurt them more, I think, because they were just getting rolling. But, I think there'll be some wrinkles. Last year he came out passing, and then his third touchdown drive, 11 plays, all runs. People forget that Ole Miss can run the ball, and Lane said this
with
week,
multiple guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The first time Nick Saban at Alabama allowed 200-yard rushes in last year's game. And Lane says, I like when people don't think we can run because that helps us run. So I think you'll see, a lot of running from Lane Kiffin. I don't know if you'll see a gadget play, but Lane is a great play caller. So he's going to mix it up. And that's the secret to being a great play caller. He mixes it up. He's as good. He's like Sean Payton in the NFL to me.
The other monster game in the SEC this weekend, Arkansas at Georgia. When you look at this game, big picture, what sticks out?
Well, again, Arkansas, it's the litmus test for them. We don't really know how good they are. They beat Texas. We don't know how good Texas is. They haven't been good in recent years. They beat Texas A&M, but Texas A&M's offense looks awful. I mean, with their injury at quarterback, they just haven't got it going. So we don't know how good Arkansas is. But I like the job Sam Pittman's done. They've been playing good defense. They got a good offensive line. I think Florida is the second best team in the SEC over Georgia because I think Florida's offense is better than Georgia's. So I think it's going to be close today in Athens.
You think it's more likely at the end of today, Glenn, that we look back on today and think Alabama and Georgia prove their dominance over the rest of the conference? Or do you think at the end of today, regardless of result, you can lose a close one, and you think, well, the gap is closing a bit at the top? Well, yeah,
if Ole Miss plays Alabama really well or beats them, obviously the gap's closing. I'd say Florida's better than Georgia, but I would not be surprised if Kentucky upsets Florida. And, things can change as the season goes on. But I think, I think by the end of today, it'll probably be Alabama and Georgia.
I'm on Kentucky as well, Jill. I like Kentucky over Florida.
And Florida, too.
Stay tuned later for picks. This will be interesting. I want to get your take on the Auburn LSU game. You said it's to see who is less good. It might be the nicest way to say this. Like, what are you looking
mediocre?
at? Yeah, less mediocre. So who is less mediocre, Auburn or LSU?
I think LSU is less mediocre than Auburn. I think LSU is going to pull it out today. They improved significantly at Mississippi State, particularly on defense, not giving up huge plays like they did all last year and early this year. They're pretty solid at quarterback with Max Johnson, even though they don't have much of a running game or much of an offensive line. They lead the nation in sacks, though. And Auburn has issues on the offensive line. They got issues at quarterback. T.J. Finley might start today. They might stick with Bo Nix. But, I like T.J. Finley really showed me something last week in pulling out that game against Georgia State. Mm-hmm. But I think LSU is going to pull it out today.
What happens with A&M now?
A&M, that's two bad teams right there, I think.
We're there next week.
Two below-average teams, Mississippi State and Texas A&M. Texas A&M's offense for a Jimbo Fisher team really disappointed me last week at the game in Arlington. Basically, they had a field goal and one long run, and that was it. And Mississippi State they look pretty good early. This is going to see who's the worst team.
I look at this, and we've been told, that A&M throughout fall, their camp, that they had Zach Calzada and Haynes King. It was neck and neck. And then you come out and you see the productivity that you've had a drop off. There's no other way to look at it. And
right.
It's like, okay, we sold a bill of goods here?
Well, probably so. I mean, that's what happens in August. And I think Jimbo and his coaches were really getting Haynes ready, and then all of a sudden they got to go to Zach. And against Arkansas, Zach had, and I'm going to use a Nick Saban term here, the Brook Trout look. He was, deer in headlights. He was just not ready for that type of game, and he's got to get better, or they're going to be pretty average this season.
We're going to be there next week. Alabama travels to Texas A&M. Chad Withrow will be back from the bachelor party, so he will be joining us.
He's our yell leader
down there in College Station. So, Glenn, thanks for stopping by this morning. We'll maybe get something in that coffee, maybe not. We'll see.
Not yet.
Not yet. All
Too
right.
early.
OutKick.com for Glenn Guilbeau and the columns and the stories covering all the games each and every week, the top games of the week across the SEC. It's great to have you on board, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
When we come back, Jay Barker, former Bama quarterback, joins us on OutKick The Tailgate. Perfect.
Yes.
We'll ask him all about his time here at Bama right after this.
Catch me if you can. All right.
OutKick The Tailgate rolls on, presented by Farmfolio. We are live in Tuscaloosa at Innisfree. The fans here, they know the guy next to me.
Yeah.
Jay Barker,
Oh, yeah.
former Bama quarterback, joining us here on the
Thank
set.
you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. And it's always great to be in Tuscaloosa and to be with OutKick. I was talking to Clay earlier. I mean, he's big time. God, look at the bus. I mean, he's got big arms now.
Right. What do you think of his photos on the bus?
Yeah. Are those
You
real?
can be honest.
Are those real?
It looks more like your body than Clay's body.
My goal is to have the guy
I hope he heard that.
who posed for this, for
Right.
the bus, on the show at some point for pics from the neck down, right? Like just the pose that he has on the side of the bus.
Exactly.
And we have Clay there
Yeah.
to speak for him.
That'd
that has
be
to
awesome.
happen this year, Joe.
But I mean, what a great story for him. I mean, politics, sports, everything. I mean, he's killing it right now.
Yeah.
So congratulations to him. Thank you all for having me on, and thank you for being in Tuscaloosa. Your first time or kind of your South tour. You said?
This is it, yeah. So this SEC bus tour is my first real roll through the South.
That's
I
awesome.
was Big Ten, I was Pac-12. So this is this is it.
Yeah.
This is what we have to look forward to.
And I told her, thank God it's not like 90 degrees or 100
Yeah, I know,
degrees.
I know.
It's not the normal southern weather.
So what do I need to know about Tuscaloosa?
Tuscaloosa, gosh, I mean, it's changed so much as I was here as a student, and now I've had my oldest son and my second son, Brax, is actually a quarterback at Alabama, so I get a chance to come down a lot more and still have friends and people that I spend a lot of time with in Tuscaloosa, but you come for this experience, the tailgating on the quad, just being able to be a part of the tradition. There's certain things that happen, the champions walk, all that type of stuff. But really just come have fun. And I think the biggest thing, the fun is in the winning. And we've had a lot of that with Coach Saban over the last 15 years.
What's it like to see the 92 championship and everything you were a part of when you look up at the history and the lore of Alabama football?
It seems like a long time ago. Sometimes it seems like yesterday. I think the biggest thing for me, and I remember talking to Greg McElroy about this, so from 79 to 92, that was a 13-year period. From 92 to 2009, 17 years. So we sat in the middle of a 30-year period of just being the last national championship. So I was always, man, you're the last national championship quarterback. And I had that for 17 years. Greg McElroy won it in 2009. And then 2011, 12, he's like, I got 2 years to enjoy this. You had 17 to enjoy it inside of a 30-year period. So, but that's the part of what Coach Saban has brought to the program and just the wins, the national championships. But I had Antonio Langham joins on my show every day. Trent Richardson's with us as well. Lars Anderson, great writer that worked for SI for many years. So I get a chance to see a lot of my former teammates either in Birmingham, here, and I think championship teams or any teams, you never lose that camaraderie, that brotherhood. And that's one thing. Antonio and I have been best friends for, 30 years, I guess.
Well, tell us about your network that you put together.
So we got right at 10 stations across the state, 3 on the Gulf Coast, and it's the Jay Barker Radio Network, the Jay Barker
I
Show.
love it.
It's live from noon to 2. We're now on Bama Insider, launched there last 2 Mondays ago. So we're live on their YouTube channel from noon to 2 as well. And really, we cover Alabama predominantly, yes, but we cover all SEC and pretty much, nationally as far as football, basketball, baseball, everything you can think of, and just trying to have fun more than anything else.
You mentioned the years between titles for quarterbacks. Yeah. What is it like to be a part of the heartbeat of college football, which is this campus and this town, and to be a national championship winning quarterback on game day? No matter when you want it, take us inside. I'll never experience that.
Yeah.
What is that like for you on a weekly basis?
It's pretty amazing. I mean, it is amazing. And I always tell people I could never give back to Alabama what it gave to me as far as, playing there, getting a scholarship. It was a dream of a kid that grew up in Birmingham. 5 years old, started playing football, tackle football. Lars asked me yesterday, he's like, did you play flag or tackle? I'm like, we didn't even have flag football back that long ago. But so having the dream, I wanted to play for Coach Bryant. I feel like I got the next best thing in Gene Stallings. He had the same mannerisms, kind of the same talk. We always talk about how that 92 team with the 60s and 70s teams, we all talk a lot alike because the coaches that coached us either played or coached with Coach Bryant. So a lot of the same lingo, a lot of the same motivational type things and stuff. But when I come here a lot of times, I try not to get recognized at times. With kids, especially when they were younger, we would move through crowds and try to just have a normal, go to the game and have fun. But Alabama fans, they're hard to hard not to talk to because they're so nice, they're so cordial. It's great that they still recognize you, that they still maybe want a picture or want an autograph. I mean, to me, I'm thankful and grateful for that. Very blessed to be able to experience that.
So as an Alabama quarterback, when you look at Bryce Young, right, everybody's talking about the Heisman Trophy with Bryce Young and Matt Corral. We have them both on stage today. What do you see in Bryce's game that you like and that he can build on?
Everything, pretty much. Gosh, I mean, the kid is so talented, and he just has such a calm about him. Probably the one thing that stands out to me the most is how he can move around the pocket. Somebody said the other day, it's like he gets to a dog fence, and he feels it, and he kind of stays down the line, keeps his eyes down the field, and can make the throw, and he can make it off balance. And he can make it accurately. He can put a touch on it if he needs to, change the speed of the ball, different arm angles. But I think the biggest thing, because my son being with him every day in the quarterback room and in the locker room, is that he is just a great guy. The team, they love him. So you got a great quarterback that's beloved by the team and him, and then Henry To'oTo'o, same way the Mike linebacker is so loved in the locker room, and a guy that just came in from Tennessee that didn't take on this aura that here I am, this great player, I'm transferring in. He really won the team over time, and Bryce did the same thing last year and even this year. But he's got everything from speed, talent. The only thing he lacks is a little bit of size. I actually came in after Doug Flutie in the CFL, got to know Doug very well. When he was playing in Buffalo, he'd come up and we'd spend time together talking about the offense we were running in Toronto. And he reminds me a lot of Doug. His ability to find those open spots. Quarterbacks, you really can't throw over linemen because none of us are 6'7", 6'8", 300 pounds. You got to find the lanes. And he does a great job moving in the pocket, finding the lanes, and really quick decisions in making those decisions where he's not making mistakes. He's had the one interception, that's it, with 15 touchdowns. So right now, very impressed with how he's played.
What's been the focus on his game, or at least the talk of his game since the Florida matchup?
As far as what do you mean focus-wise?
Improvements.
Well, I think the biggest thing is for him, I don't know. I mean, he's got, he throws the ball over the top. He's able to do things that, a lot of quarterbacks can't do in college. I think the biggest thing is he just continues to progress and learn and really trust the receivers downfield, using Cameron Latu and now Jaleel Billings. They really kind of get more engaged. I think that's going to be a lot of the game plan today to some degree. If you get to, because they run that 3 kind of drop 8, more of that Iowa State Big 12 style defense. And I think Alabama can line up and should be able to run the football against them today.
Jill's right. I mean, the talk is the quarterbacks, but it's really about Corral in this game. Bryce Young can have the coming out party, so to speak, nationally, where all the writers, all the media, all the voters are talking about him as the Heisman favorite after today. That's right there on the table for him.
It is, and both quarterbacks are phenomenal. Matt Corral, just his progression last year, which I still think, I don't know whether or not he can still be rattled. I thought he got rattled a little bit last year late in the year. Had the Arkansas game where he threw like 6 interceptions, and then another game where he had a number of interceptions. He's tried to clean that up, and he has. He's got 14 touchdowns, no interceptions, and so he's done really well through week 5. But Bryce has a really good opportunity today. I don't think he takes it on as that I've got to go out and do something. He needs to just play within himself, play within the system, use the talent around him, and if he does that and sticks to the game plan, Bill O'Brien's done a really good job, I think, of calling plays and really keeping him steady throughout the game, and he just doesn't seem to get flustered at all by the attention.
I'm so glad you brought up O'Brien, because this is a guy who, offensive coordinator in New England, head coach at Penn State, head coach of the Houston Texans, and is willing to come back in college to be an assistant. What is it about the rehab facility that is here in Birmingham, here in Tuscaloosa, and right here in the heart of Alabama with Saban, that everyone comes here and knows that it's a launching point to the next big thing?
Yeah, it's kind of a doctorate, right? You come in.
The number of coaching turnover here is insane.
It's unbelievable.
For their level of play.
The turnover of coaches, the turnover of players, they had the NFL so early, and they still have the success they've had. Coaching-wise, like with Bill and others that have come in, some have been a rehab of off-the-field stuff. Some have been a rehab of just getting back into the coaching and getting that respect back, and kind of having this that I coach for Coach Saban. I learned the process. Now, that doesn't always, because he's 23-0 against his assistants. So one thing to know it, another thing to know how to run it or how to execute it. So Coach Saban still has that kind of secret sauce. But Bill O'Brien, talking to Braxton, my son, and some of the other guys on the team, one thing that they like about him is that he's real personable. Like, he coaches them individually, where normally you get into a room and the coach kind of coaches up the position, and it's more a group than it is individuals, and he really cares about them as people. Not to say Sark didn't, it's just a different way of doing things, a different personality. And Braxton was really surprised by that because he thought, here's a guy that's coming in, the head coach in the pros. Is he going to have this big ego? Is he going to be this? And it's the complete opposite. And he's loved Bill O'Brien. He's learned so much from him, from really schematics more than just the fundamentals of playing the position, but how to attack defenses, certain ways of getting to things. Sark did it one way. Bill does it more of in that pro level, give the quarterbacks more ability at the line of scrimmage to make decisions. And and Bill even told me and others, this is the most probably cerebral or maybe the smartest quarterback room he's ever been in, including pros. Now, I don't know if he said that just to make everybody feel good, but I know the guys in there. I know that they know the game very, very well, and have enjoyed having him as a coach so far.
When you see what Alabama has been able to produce over the last few years, and then you see a team like Clemson kind of fall off that national stage a little bit this season, does it make you appreciate what Nick Saban has come back and been able to build? Because once you're at the top, you now see how hard it is to stay there.
So hard. You're right. And, the thing is, once it's getting to that mountaintop. Remember, we won in 92. We wanted to come back and repeat in 93. We had injuries. And we had a lot of distractions. That's the thing. We had from the parades to the the fans and all the different events that we were now invited to, golf tournaments we'd never been invited to. So the distractions were there, and we come back and we just could not do it. 94 almost did it. We went 12-1, and I got beat by 1 point in that SEC title game. That's my worst loss ever. I mean, that was only one of two, and as far as the Auburn game in 93. But you look at the success in what he's done here, Coach Saban. To have that kind of consistency, as you talked about with turnover, coaches and players. Dabo really hadn't had a lot of turnover in his coaches. He's had it in players who have left early, but he's really kind of kept that in sync. And, look, I don't know. At some point in time, do you need new ideas? Do you need maybe a different injection of something into a program? That's going to have to be his decision and what he needs, but don't ever count him out. He's my former teammate. I know how competitive he is. His wife, Kathleen, is as competitive as he is, and his two sons playing for him now on the team, which is pretty awesome. But don't count him out. Dabo is definitely going to be back, and Clemson will be Clemson once again.
What's it like being a father of someone that's on the team here?
It's fun, and it's also I have to be careful because I'm in the media, so I hear things, see things, know things that I can't really talk about. I have to be kind of code as far as how I say those things. But yeah, Braxton here, Harrison, my youngest son, is a quarterback at UAB, and then my daughter, who's his twin, Harrison and Sarah are twins, is Georgia, plays basketball there. She was on the all-SEC freshman team last year for Georgia women's basketball, so really proud of her. She really loved Joni Taylor, who actually played at Alabama and is the coach at Georgia, and during the recruiting process felt like that was the place for her to be, and she's loved Athens.
And not only sports, but music. You have a daughter that has released an album as well?
Livia Evans Music. That's her, Twitter or handle, whatever else. So she released her latest album, and it's I say latest, her first. She did some other stuff in collaboration with Sarah and some other musicians, but this is
Sarah
her.
Evans.
Yes, Sarah Evans. That's right. So
everybody, Sarah. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool, Sarah.
Yeah,
you might have heard of her.
Yes, but so Olivia, I'm so proud of her. She's got a great heart, but she is really just an unbelievable musician. She wrote all the songs, and she also said, "I want to do pop. I want to kind of get away from, not that she wanted to get away from her mom, but she wanted to do something different than country." And she's done that before, and she's really, it's a great album. Check it out for yourself, and you'll love it.
How can we find it?
It's on iTunes.
Okay.
I can't believe you already have it downloaded. What are you talking about?
Jill probably does. Jill probably does. We'll listen to it on the way to the game.
There you go.
We're going to Bryant-Denny today.
Okay.
I have not been in the stadium since 2005 or 2006. I know there have been a ton of renovations. Jill's never stepped foot inside Bryant-Denny.
First time.
How much has it changed over the years, just compared to when you played, and how much larger is this stadium now?
So when I used to come as a kid to Bryant-Denny, it was the one bowl.
Yeah.
Then as I got older, they put the one, I guess the west side up, and then they put the east side up after we left. Put some suites in. We thought that was like unbelievable. Then the north end zone went in, and the south end zone. So it's now you walk in, it's like, holy cow. I never forget going in the first time when they put the north end zone in, and just thinking how high this went up and just how intimidating it was. just being out there, just being recognized. Now to go play in that and the environment for these Ole Miss guys to come into. But it's got to be fun to be a part of that, and you're going to love it. If you get to go to all the different suites and stuff, you're gonna, I mean, the new ones are just like the Taj Mahal. I mean, it's crazy what they've built over there.
It'll be easy. We'll just walk in with Jay,
Yeah,
and we'll be
come
like,
on, yeah.
guys.
Who are you with? Barker.
Yeah, this is it.
I actually don't have that pass. I wish I did.
We're hoping. When you look at college football, you kind of mentioned it, just how big it's grown from when you played to what you see now, and just, I mean, the ratings and the CFP and everything, all the money that goes into it. How has the game changed?
The biggest thing is all that, but I wish I had NIL. If I would have had that back in the day, I won the championship as a sophomore. I had 2 more years at Alabama. I cannot imagine name, image, and likeness what could have happened those 2 years with different, events, signing sessions, corporate sponsorship type opportunities and stuff. Even then, but probably the transfer portal is one of the biggest too, because now you can say, okay, I want to go play somewhere else. And for some guys, I mean, that's a good thing. I personally, and Antonio and I have talked about this a lot, we believe in competition. You go, you compete, you just keep working and try to make it, or at least graduate, then transfer. But now they've opened up this kind of free agency. That's just, I don't know if it's going to be those 2 things, transfer portal, NIL, still not sure whether that's going to be a good thing or end up being something that we look back on and go, why do we do that?
I think that's the biggest change just over the years, especially at quarterback. When you have you're playing both guys before week 4 to keep both happy so they don't leave. That I don't like that about college football, but that's the biggest flip from 25 years ago to now.
Yeah, because if you leave after 3, you can transfer and you get that year back, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and you could walk, and if you're not happy after being recruited, the de-recruitment happens.
Right.
But there's really no more of that, because you have to keep all these young guys happy so they don't bolt.
Yeah. It's different. I mean, look, again, for some guys, it's going to be a great opportunity. For others, I think if you look at the transfer portal, there were like thousands in it last year. And some of those guys may not get back to what they had a full scholarship. They had a chance to go get an education. I think we forget about what, the student athlete, there's, less than 2% are going to make it to the next level. So take advantage of this. Take advantage of the opportunity to network, to get to know people, to meet all the people in your class, to really develop those friendships that could be lasting. I mean, all my friendships in college are the ones that are not saying most important, but they have been the lasting. I have a few really close high school friends, but the college experience was the best years of my life. I mean, it really was. I mean, just some of the funnest times. No worries about, food and, worried about a roof over your head or paying bills. All that was taken care of by the scholarship. And I just think with the guys today and kids growing up today need to appreciate that as much as anything else. Is just that they're getting that education, and that's going to take them a long way.
Jay, I want to get into Gene Stallings in a minute, but first, take us down memory lane on campus. Who was the Alabama legend that you saw on campus you were playing? You were like, wow, I'm speaking to this guy.
So probably the 2, or the one that memory that I have the most, we had the 1992 summer. It was the celebration of the century. So it was the 100 years of Alabama football. So they did the century team, and we went to Birmingham, and it was at the BJC, or the BJCC, that area there, that a conference room. So they bring in the century team, and I'm there as about to be 1992 quarterback. This is the summer before the championship game. Tuxedo, my parents are there. They invited us to come because I was the quarterback, and I got to sit next to Joe Namath and Kenny Stabler, and they got my picture made with Joe Namath and Kenny Stabler. We're all in tux. They made a big picture about it, and it's up in a lot of places all over, Southeast or Alabama, and I've definitely got my copy, and I've had many people want me to sign that for them. But for me, that was like, I could not believe I was standing between these 2 Hall of Famers.
In the moment, you realize it.
Oh, yeah.
At that age, I'm a part of this fraternity somehow. Did you
not
feel?
Really, well, to a degree,
okay.
But I didn't feel nothing like them. I mean, I felt like
I shouldn't be here.
Right, exactly, yeah. But then as time went on, and spending time with them more and more, just both great guys, so supportive. Kenny passed a while back, and he was always so encouraging. When I was a player, Joe was the same way. Stedman Shealy was kind of my hero, and Jeff Rutledge as well, because not only because of how they played the game, but also because of their faith, and just really outspoken about that. So that really encouraged me as a young person. Major Ogilvie was actually my favorite player. I wore number 42 all the way through Little League, and I'd actually make tearaway jerseys at my house. I'd like cut them up so they'd tear away.
No flags, tear away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was for backyard football. It wasn't
Absolutely.
for on the field, regulation, I guess. But some really great players have come through here and have been an inspiration to all the guys before them. And as a player, when I got there, I was like, man, I want to win a national championship to bring it back to Alabama. I had the Bear Bryant posters up in my room. I was a huge Alabama fan growing up. My mom and dad were the same. They weren't over the top where they were degrading of players or whatever else, but they loved Coach Bryant. They loved University of Alabama, and I had a chance to fulfill that dream. It was amazing.
Quarterback clubs. I'm sure if you talk to one, you've talked to thousands, right? What's the go-to Gene Stallings story to get the room going?
Man, there's so many. Probably the biggest one for me, it's not even getting going. It's one that kind of defines our relationship. We had a kind of a father-son type relationship. We go to Tennessee, and we're going out for warm-ups. I hurt my right shoulder the week before. Homer Smith said, look, I really don't want you throwing a ton. I just want you to throw some short passes. And then we start throwing the ball down the field. I want you just to rest. And so we went to Coach Stallings right before and sat there and talked to him and said, hey, Coach, this is the game plan. This is what we're going to do. So we get out there, and ESPN, everybody's filming for some pre-roll, whatever, and I'm out there throwing. I stop throwing after we do some slant routes, and all of a sudden I see Coach Stallings walking down towards us, and I'm like, man, somebody's in trouble, because I knew that walk and I knew that look, and he kept walking towards me, and I'm like, what did I do? So he gets to me, and he's like, what are you doing? I go, we just talked about this. He goes, we talked about what? I go, that I'm not throwing. He goes, well, how do I know if you can't throw today? How do I know you can throw tomorrow? And I'm like, we just talked about this. So we go after that. We go in the locker room, and we're going to the locker room. He gets right beside me, and he's like kind of chewing on me. So then finally, we both go into the bathroom, and the assistant coach are right here, and we're at it. I mean, we're both because it was like that, spitting in each other's face. I mean, we're yelling and all that stuff. When then we get done, I'm so mad. I shave before we go to the back to the hotel for dinner, and I have beads of sweat coming out because my blood pressure is so high. I can't quit bleeding. So we get there. He asked me to pray at the dinner, and I'm like, I'm going to be praying for you. What's going on with you? So then we play the game, and I was so just wanting to prove to him. After the game, he comes up to me after we won it, and it was a great game in Tennessee. Peyton Manning played as a freshman in that game, and Brandon went on to Texas A&M. I can't remember his last name. Was quarterback as well. So he walks over, hands me a cigar, and that's that picture of me and Coach Stallings and that cigar. And he goes, and he looks at me and goes, how's your shoulder? And I'm like, what? He goes, I got you to forget about it, didn't I? And I go, holy. He like played a mind game on me. So the whole thing was just to get me to think about him, to take my mind off the shoulder and just focus on trying to be a competitor on the field to try to prove him wrong. So he just took that, and he knew my motivation was that kind of stuff.
He knew the gear to hit.
To hit. Yeah, sure did. And then handed me the cigar, and I started dying laughing. He's laughing, and that's that picture. We both have our cigars in the mouth.
That is outstanding.
Great. Yeah.
That's a great story. I love that.
It's a little manipulative.
But as a coach, you need to know which buttons to push, and every guy learns
he knew
at
mine.
a different pace, different ways,
Right.
and he knew exactly what to dial
but
up.
like David Palmer was different. Like David, you couldn't, not that you can get on to him because he's such a hard worker, but he knew how to push David. He knew how to push all the different guys. And Coach Stallings is he is a gem. I mean, he is like a father figure to so many of us, and I know Alabama fans love him to death.
All right, we're here at a tailgate. What's your go-to tailgate food?
Dream lamb barbecue.
There you go. We ate that last night.
Were you? Oh, good.
Last night,
the ribs. Oh my gosh, the ribs are unbelievable. So I'd say dream lamb barbecue, some golden flake potato chips. I mean that's.
And for dessert, it's pudding or pudding.
That's right, banana pudding or banana pudding.
That's your option. You get it, and you're going to like it. And you know what? We actually have Paxton inside that's going to have some more taste of the tailgate here. What are we eating right now, Paxton?
Well, guys, segment number 2, Taste of the Tailgate. We are here, Trip Rogers, once again, and it looks like we have a wrap of some sort. What is this?
This is our JT wrap. Okay. We made it in honor of Justin Thomas, one of our great Alabama golfers who helped lead our Ryder Cup team to a great victory last week against Europe. And it's for him, and it's for the rest of our golfers. They do a great job. Coach Sewell does a great job with them. And we got to honor everybody, not just our football team.
I love that. So we're really leaning into the fact that this bar is, in fact, one of the coolest places on campus if we're naming food after famous people, basically.
We try, you know, we want, like I said earlier, we want everybody to have a good time when they come in here. And if we can help out just a little bit and making everyone's experience even better, that's what we like to do.
I love that. Well, it's 9 in the morning, so let's eat a wrap, right? That makes sense. Okay, so
Watch a toothpick.
yeah, I should probably get rid of that. And just one-handed. That's crispy. So, we pair everything with fries until later, right?
Oh, yeah, basically. Fries turns into maybe a shot or two later tonight.
Once again, why do we have to wait till tonight? The game's
We
at
don't.
2:30.
I'll tell you what, in the third segment, we might bring something new to the game. A little surprise for everybody.
I see where your head's at. So
Dax,
what-
that looks delicious right now.
It's phenomenal. We got some spices in this thing.
That's
we got
another
some.
one of our Irish Gold. So that's got the Irish Gold on it as well.
See, guys, you can put it on anything. Probably not in this like fruity
Not
mixed
in-
drink
not
that
in
you
the
have,
Saban
but
egg,
okay.
I didn't mean to spoil it, but you never know.
This is what we're having later.
Maybe. You never know. We're always in for a few surprises.
Okay, so we're gonna leave that mystery and throw it back to you guys, and I'm gonna eat more waffle fries and just stuff my face on camera.
I'm a little jealous. Like, what do we have to do to get some food out here, Paxton? We're friends, right?
True.
Well, we just need Jay to order it up for
That's
us.
right, yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
we need.
There we go.
That's all. I was actually inside. They had the 92 flag that they took down the flags, the old ones from the stadium, and he was able to get it. So he wanted me to go up there and sign it, and I'm just not heights wise. Like I can't. You got to get on the ladder. I'm like barely getting
You're
up
not
the
into
ladder.
it?
Oh, but I signed the bottom of it, so that was good. I can't stand heights.
Who's been your favorite quarterback at Alabama over the last 25 years?
Oh my gosh! Don't ask me that.
Oh, I mean, who?
Well, AJ McCarron, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, I said it.
You relate to him the most?
Well, yeah, probably, but also because he should have won 3. I mean, he's one of the best ever. I mean, that's ever played at Alabama, and look at his career, and he just hadn't found the right system, I don't think, or the right place in the NFL early on enough, where he could really kind of be there and be the guy. All the guys. I mean, McElroy is awesome.
Yeah.
Brody Kroll. I mean, I loved watching Brody play. Didn't have a chance to be a part of teams like this. If Brody would have been even surrounded by any of this type of talent, his numbers, his career in college would have been even better. And we saw what he did somewhat in the NFL. And then Coker. Coker was that guy. I was actually played golf with him about a week ago, and he's just such a good dude. And just a great guy, great leader. Tua, Jalen, and those guys now, they seem like my sons because they're like my son's age or whatever. So they're probably the most talented guys that have come through out of high school. The hype that they had and stuff. But so many great players have come through. So many great quarterbacks. They've all kind of played their role. Some guys have had a chance to be more involved in certain things, or maybe I hate the word game manager, but that's part of being a quarterback is to manage the line of scrimmage, to make the calls, to do things in protection in the run game. So, but pride stand out AJ McCarron just based on his record and almost winning 3.
So AJ, Tua, Bryce, we go through all this list of Alabama quarterbacks. What does it take, obviously besides talent,
Mac too,
to come in and be a successful Alabama quarterback?
Probably the biggest thing is not let the expectations or the tradition overwhelm you. You're coming into a place where you're expected to win. You're expected to be a certain way as a quarterback. Fans are going to want a lot of your attention at times, and the media stuff. The media stuff now is so different. We would go out and spend 2 hours. We'd sit down with print, and then we'd sit down with each TV station. Then ESPN would be like the last that they'd spend the most time with us or whoever's covering the game that weekend. Now they have to get up on a podium as if like a coach, and everything they say goes live. We'll say, I could sit with a reporter and say something and call him, go to my coach and go, hey, you need to call him and tell him not to write that because I probably shouldn't have said that. So we could have corrected those things. Now it's gone. I mean, I just can't imagine the pressure that these young guys are somewhat under when it comes to making sure they're saying all the right things. But yeah, so that's probably the biggest thing. Doing that, play within yourself, use all the talent around you that they've got now, and the guys who have been through it the last few years have done that.
To handle the pressure and then to be poised in the locker room, because everyone's going to look to you as the leader on the sideline. Something's going on defensively, the quarterback's the leader on the sideline, and you have to have the poise and the moxie on the sideline as much as you do on the field many times.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is not to ever let them see your emotions, whether it's you're up or down, that you just kind of stay steady. Not that you can't get excited over a touchdown or a big play, but you still stay steady so that the players believe that no matter if we're up or if we're down, we're not playing for the scoreboard. We're playing through the process. We're playing through the game, and each play is important as the last. Again, whether you're leading by 20 or whether you're down by 20, is how you play the game there, and just trying to stay steady. I think that's the biggest thing. Quarterbacks that can do that, I mean, like Brady's a great example of that. He'll get excited when he has a touchdown, but then he's on the bench, and he's just steady as can be. He never looks like he's not going to win the game or be in the game.
Is it a topic at all how long Saban coaches here? Not here, just period.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a topic. I mean, everybody's always worried about that last day.
I feel like 5 years ago we were talking about it, and now it's just kind of like, he's never retiring.
Antonio played with for Coach Saban. He's assistant for the Cleveland Browns. Okay, so they've known each other for a long time. And we were talking about this yesterday after we got done with our show at Top Golf. We were sitting around hitting some balls and stuff, and I said, "How long do you think?" He goes, "I think till 80." I go, "Me too." I go, "You really think he's going to go to?" I go, we both agreed that we think he'll be there till. I mean, that's 10 more years. Now, the reason we say that is because we can't imagine him doing anything else, and he's going to be an 80-year-old probably that looks 70, because he's a 70-year-old that looks maybe 50, late 50s, early 60s right now. So he's got great genetics. He loves what he does, and I think when you have that purpose of wanting to do something, wake up every single day and go to that job and do it. And we saw Coach Bowden coach to that point. We saw other coaches that have done that. He's got a lot of time left, I think, if he wants it. It really, according to what he wants. And I think people were worried when he first got here. He had so much transition that he'd be here 3 to 5 years and then gone. And I hate to say this, but and I mean it, and not that I hate to say it, but in 2011, on April 27th, the tornadoes hit Tuscaloosa. When those tornadoes hit, and Coach Saban and Terry got out into the community, their kids were in the community, they really sunk their roots deep into Tuscaloosa. And when they did that, I think that caused them to go, "We're here. The community needs us." And then they went back-to-back national championships, or another national championship that year. So back-to-back 11-12 after all that. So it's really unbelievable that he's been here this long. But man, I'd love to see him coach for as long as he can, and I know Alabama fans would as well.
Yeah,
maybe not SEC fans.
You think he's going to stick around for a long time? I think it's interesting that we see him have so much fun now on the sidelines. I think this is a different Nick Saban that we see, right? Like he put on like the leather football helmet earlier and he was smiling and letting it go, and I'm like, oh, who is this? The same Nick Saban?
Yeah, it really has. It seems like he's really kind of toned it down just a bit, and I'm sure that happens just with age, and he has, even with the players, I mean, the way he talks about Bryce, I've never heard him talk about another player the way he talks about Bryce. I mean, he really thinks a lot of this young man, and but just as you talked about, some of the antics on the field, off the field, and I think he's really enjoying it, and he's got the things are in place, the machine is there, it's running efficiently. Just got to keep that going, and but I love seeing him in those moments when I have a chance to go talk to him or sit in his office. And we talk one-on-one. He's a great storyteller. Or he really is a great storyteller. He can be really funny. I used to tell everybody when I first met him, and I'd heard this from Holly Rowe, she had said, "You just can't believe how different he is." And this is 10 years ago or more than when he was at Michigan State. And Coach Saban's an introvert. That's really in an extrovert's job, right? So in front of crowds, in front of people, he can do it. But Terry, his wife, is the extrovert. She's the one that walks in and just takes over the entire room. So they do very well together when it comes to whether it's meeting with people, recruits, and getting she's probably the best recruiter of all of them. Miss Terry, when they get them to the house, the parents, the moms, they feel really comfortable that their sons are coming to a place not just to play football, but to get an education and to feel a part of a family, and that they're going to be there with them and for them forever.
Well, you mentioned you've been in Saban's office, so you walked in, and did he reach over and hit the button?
Hit the button, yeah.
And the door just shuts behind you?
Yeah.
Did you realize it at the time, or did you learn that was actually a thing when you walked in?
I saw him do it, so I realized that, okay, is that really for real the first time? And then, then all the stories started coming out about the reason why, because it takes too much time to get up and to go shut the door, and that he's being efficient to get people in and out of his office. The best thing I like about it, they give him a card when you walk in. So he has a little card like this that has all the information that his secretary gives him about that person or about that meeting. So when he's in there, he's got all the information he needs about him, and he can look at it. I mean, he hardly looks at it. I mean, I guess he can look at something and remember it for a long period of time, but he's always prepared. That's the biggest thing. I think the players learn from Coach Saban and the assistant coaches that work with him and then the fans that have watched him is there's never a situation where it seems like he's not ready for it. He's kind of thought through it. Even with the whole pandemic stuff in 2020, I mean, everybody else kind of scrambled. Man, they were there. I mean, I remember talking to Jeff Allen, and he's like, we've been here for the last so many hours. There's only 5 of us in the building. Greg Burns here with us, and we're planning out how we're going to get through this thing because we think it's going to be a long period of time. That's back in spring practice, right, when all the guys went off to spring break. So that right there just shows you that he's very proactive. He wants to have a plan for everything, and he does.
This is what I always say about Hutton. He's always prepared. We'll give him a card once. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
He's ready to go. Jay, thanks so much for hanging with us.
So great to meet you.
We really appreciate you coming.
Yeah,
You're
definitely.
taking Alabama by what today?
I think it's either going to be a blowout. Alabama's going to blow them out, or it's going to be a high-scoring, close game.
Well, you said Alabama's running the football. You said you didn't want to disclose the game plan.
I think they should be running the football today against this defense, and then take shots down the field, takes a little more pressure off of Bryce early on, and then I think that keep that Matt Corral and that offense off the field. It's going to be fun to see Lane back in Bryant Denny. The fans are going to go crazy.
Freshwater returns.
The former quarterback wants to see them take shots down the field.
That's right.
Breaking news.
Breaking
Jay,
news.
thanks so
you.
much.
Thank you.
OutKick the Tailgate rolls on right after this.
There's never been a more challenging time to be an investor. Your stock markets are overvalued by every measure with record low cap rates. Cryptocurrency can go from boom to bust overnight, and inflation is making everything hard to predict. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sit back and watch your money grow? That's where Farmfolio comes in. Farmland ownership made easy. Farmland's an asset class that's often overlooked, but it's one that's consistently delivered higher returns than other investments with significantly less volatility. You can buy a farm lot from Farmfolio, and we'll manage every aspect of your farm property, from crop care, harvesting, and sales of your produce through our company-owned packing facilities and international sales offices. With Farmfolio, farmland ownership has never been easier. Simply sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Farmfolio, you own, we farm, you.
Catch me if you can.
There's never been a more challenging
Catch me if you can. Catch me if you can.
OutKick The Tailgate, presented by Farmfolio, the third hour. Here we go. Jill
Already.
Savage, Jonathan Hutton, and some guy we found at the bar last night. Lance
did actually.
Taylor. We met you right here at Innisfree.
You on the doorstep right here.
Jill, let me tell you something about LT. He meets everyone at Innisfree. Okay, I met LT over a decade ago at Innisfree in Birmingham, and this guy is the mayor of Birmingham. He's the mayor of Tuscaloosa and any other SEC town that he's in at the given time. This man is a legend.
I try to pick my spots, Joe. It's actually been a while. It's been 2 years since I've actually been here.
That sounds hard to believe from the stories right now.
Yeah, well, for the Alabama fans, probably not good. The last game I went to was LSU 2019, and that was a home loss.
They haven't had many of those,
No.
so I'm gonna point the blame at you.
And that might be the last time Alabama lost. So they've won 16 consecutive games. I'm trying to figure out.
Are you going to be in attendance today?
I will be there today. So I don't know if that's good or bad. I have no idea.
I don't know.
That was part of the deal, Jill, is he had to get tickets to come on the show today. By the way, congratulations on the next round.
I appreciate that.
For those that don't know, Lance, with the great crew, started the round table, and then, of course, have done great things with the next round here in Alabama. Myself with Chad and Paul with OutKick 360 now, and we kind of went through the whole digital space together. You guys are crushing it, though. Congrats.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, we decided to leave terrestrial radio back in, I guess, June. So it's been a couple of months now. And following your path. See how this thing goes.
What not to do.
But excited about this, yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. And we did our first road broadcast from Innisfree yesterday. A lot of fun.
One of the things that we're going to do, Jill, later is picks. Lance's locks are legendary.
Yeah, by the way, I had Maryland last night.
I know. I told you should have talked to me.
And Tulsa. So I was 0-2 last night. I think I lost by a combined 100 points, maybe.
So it was really close.
Yes, really close. But I'm due today. I've got 13 plays today, and I feel great about
In
them.
a very quick breakdown of the Iowa Hawkeyes, just for you for next time, when they play non-conference games, they don't roll out any of the offense. As soon as October hits and it's a conference game,
you told me that. I know.
Everything is on the table. Now you can use that going forward. The offense isn't always clicking, but that's
I would have
the
run
plan.
into you 3 hours earlier,
I could have saved you some money.
I should have known Mike Loxley and Kirk Ferentz. That's the difference, right?
It's easy.
Tagovailoa was so bad last night.
Oh, it was
6
terrible.
INTs. If there's anything we can do.
That's impossible.
That's what we
Like,
can
even if Bo Nix starts tonight for Auburn, Bo Nix will
Right.
not throw 6 picks.
It's hard to do.
It's really hard to do.
It's not awkward, but NIL comes into play. You have Bo Nix on your show weekly, and by week 5, he's not even the starter.
Yeah, you know, we had this discussion because I don't know if it's.
I mean, he's getting paid to do it. So.
He is. So it's an Alabama law that the NIL, you can't lose your endorsement based on performance.
Right.
So we knew when we got into this situation, if Bo, for whatever reason, didn't perform, and
Hold on.
Finley actually.
Yeah.
If TJ Finley actually took over, that Bo was still going to actually be on the show and get paid. So we knew this was a possibility. This is so weird, and I don't know if it'll happen because we still don't know who the starting quarterback is tonight, whether it's going to be Bo or TJ. But I said during the offseason, I feel like TJ Finley will end up being the starting quarterback against LSU. That will be the moment he starts. So we'll see if it happens or not. We had Bo on the show. You know, it was a little awkward, but, you know, again, he's getting paid to do this now. So he's kind of in the big leagues.
He handled it well this week. All things considered.
I agree. I
think we're going to switch out your microphone. This is.
Oh, yeah.
I will say, we're right here at Innisfree. Everything's happening, and leave it to LT to come in. Our set was working just fine.
I know.
He comes in, and all of a sudden, I feel like this is going to be, the foreshadowing for Alabama later. He said that he was the bad luck.
Am I
He's back in
Bad
Tuscaloosa.
luck.
It's official.
This is it. So everything again. Jay Barker comes in. Everything's nice. Lance comes in. He picked against my Hawkeyes.
Oh,
maybe this is
Jill.
karma.
Yes, I'm such a heck. Such a heck. So what I was saying about Bo Nix is, look, I mean, this guy is getting paid now, so unfortunately he's got to take on these interviews. If he doesn't perform and he gets benched and TJ Finley's a starter, he's still getting paid and he's still got to do our show.
Yeah.
So what's going to be really uncomfortable is, hey, welcome back to the next round. Backup quarterback for Auburn, Bo Nix now joins us. I don't know if that's going to be the case. A lot of people believe he starts tonight. I don't know how you guys feel. I think TJ Finley starts tonight, but I'm in the minority.
You've been saying that all week. I think if you're going back to Bo Nix, now's the time to do it. But if you bench him again, it's over.
I agree. And that's what's the uncomfortable thing. Like if Bo gets to start tonight and you have to go back to TJ, I don't think you go back to Bo.
I mean, it's not like Finley didn't do anything great. I mean, he led that drive at the end. I mean, he's back at LSU tonight.
Well, I don't know how you guys
play
feel,
into the storyline at all there?
But a little bit. I mean, I think he at least the team is behind him. That was a 98-yard drive, and we kind of know what we're getting from Bo. I mean, this is 2+ years, and Bo Nix on the road is not good. And TJ Finley, although he wasn't great last year, there's still some upside, I believe. We just haven't seen TJ Finley's best. I think what you get with Bo, we know.
The real answer, Jill, is they really don't have a good option.
No, they don't.
No.
Right, and that's the key. So if that's how you feel, if you're the coach and you feel that way, to me, you go back with Bo Nix for one more try at it.
They don't have a Spencer Petras.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's right.
They do not.
They don't have a complete
Or an
stud
Iowa
like
secondary.
Yeah, I think you'd rather have Riley Moss going out there, getting all those picks. But, when you look at this game, we were talking to Glenn Guilbeau, our OutKick SEC writer. He was like, this is like the game of mediocrity in the SEC this weekend. How do you see it shaking out?
Yeah, it was kind of like last week against Mississippi State. I had no idea how that game was going to play out. Mississippi State outgained LSU and ultimately lost the game. Mississippi State just in the red zone, no good. I kind of lean if Bo starts this game that LSU wins. I could just see this weird storyline if TJ starts. Auburn could win this game if that makes any sense. Kind of the storybook, fun, coming back home.
He's the third option.
Yeah,
now
the
he's
third
the
option, and now he wins that game. Again, I think both average teams. Right now, I lean LSU.
I feel like I judged LSU way too soon. The UCLA game.
Yeah, you haters of the Pac-12 out there. Chip Kelly bringing UCLA back.
I watched them play, and I thought, this is not LSU. This is not the second best team in the West.
They can't run the football. I mean, Keyshawn Boutte is a stud. I think Max Johnson has got a lot of potential. I think the defense can be good, but if you can't run the football in the SEC, you're not going to win football games. And they're so one-dimensional right now, and that's why, I think Auburn does have a really good chance to break a streak. They haven't won there since 1999.
Want to work our way up in the SEC? Florida, Kentucky coming up next.
That's even worse, by the way.
Oh, you put it below it.
No, like Kentucky hasn't beaten Florida in Lexington. You guys know this since 1986.
Yeah.
Do you know what the number one movie in the nation was in 1986 when they won?
No.
You weren't even born.
I was.
Top Gun.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was 2.
How about that? But, to put it in perspective, Kentucky has not beaten Florida in Lexington since Top Gun was on the big screen.
It's coming back.
I think it could happen tonight, Lance.
I do too. Will Levis got to play better though.
I believe in him though.
He believes in himself, and I thought he was good the first couple of games. But when you look at Liam Cohen's offense the last couple of games, it reverts back to 2020. It's just not a good offense the last couple of games. They're turning the football over.
If they get all of their weapons in sync, Kentucky's they're the winner tonight.
I gave out Kentucky +8. I feel good about Kentucky plus points. I don't know if they win the game. Wan'Dale Robinson is a major weapon. I think Chris Rodriguez might be the best running back right now in the SEC. If they don't turn the football over, I think they can win the game.
There's always craziness in this matchup, though. That Kentucky will leave 2 wide receivers randomly uncovered for Florida on a crucial drive, and they'll just waltz into the end zone for a 2-score lead at that point. That always tends to happen. Gators Wildcats.
Well, they were up 14-15, and Felipe Franks goes out, and Kyle Trask comes in, and I think 3 fourth-quarter touchdowns. Things you just don't see. Yeah, you're right. Weird things happen to Kentucky in Kentucky against Florida.
We're going to do our picks later, but when you look at this Arkansas-Georgia matchup, when you see Arkansas and what they've been able to do this season, Sam Pittman creating a great turnaround there. They're a great feel-good story in college football right now. What do you like about Arkansas and the way that they've been able to turn things around?
So, it's impossible not to like Sam Pittman. And I said early this week on our show, on the next round, and I had Clay on the show, and I said, I'm ready to say Sam Pittman, third best coach right now in the SEC. Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Sam Pittman. He told me I was crazy. But I think the turnaround, we're talking about a program that lost 19 consecutive SEC games just a couple of years ago. And they were 3-7 last year in a 10-game SEC schedule. They should have been 5-5. And now this is a top 10 team that is undefeated. And they they play lights out. I don't love the offense. Traylon Burks, Traylon Smith are good players. KJ Jefferson's really raw. I think this defense is much improved in year 2 under Barry Odom. I just don't think they've got enough to score with Georgia.
And Jefferson's style of play is going to lead him to be banged up and hurt all the time.
I agree.
And we know the drop-off whenever he's not at quarterback. We saw it last week. So can he stay healthy tonight?
And that's
today,
the thing. And how elite is Georgia's defense? I think they're elite. We really haven't seen. Clemson's offense is a complete mess.
Yeah, we were looking.
There's no denying.
We were
it.
looking at the Clemson game. They got past Clemson, so look at the rest of their schedule. They're on their way to Atlanta, and now 4 weeks later, here's Arkansas. If Arkansas wins tonight, where are they ranked Monday?
Well, it depends on what happens here. Ole Miss, Alabama. I've said this: if Ole Miss and Arkansas both win, I think Ole Miss is number 1 and Arkansas is number 2. And I don't know how you would deny that. Because the best win in college football right now is Oregon at Ohio State. You guys would agree with that, right?
Yes.
So if Ole Miss wins today, this would be the best win in college football this season. The second best win would be Arkansas. Arkansas has already beaten Texas and Texas A&M. So you would have to, if I'm a voter, and thank God I'm not. 25 teams have already lost in the first 4 weeks. What a pain in the ass it is to be able to vote. But I would vote Ole Miss 1, Arkansas 2 if that happened.
What do you look for? Ole Miss, Alabama. Everybody is in town. They're excited for this matchup. Matt Corral, Bryce Young, lots of points out there. The over-under, 79.5.
Crazy.
What are you looking forward to in this matchup?
Well, I'm looking forward to, so Lane Kiffin is one of the best play callers in college football. We can all agree. Whether you like Lane Kiffin or not, the guy can call a game. Yeah. I look forward to seeing, how good this Ole Miss defense really is, or how much improved they are from 2020 to 2021. Alabama's offense is not even close to what it was last year. The difference in wide receivers, the drop-off there from what you had with Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. You've got good receivers. You just don't have those elite guys now. You don't have a Najee Harris. I think Bryce Young is elite. I think we might be seeing the 2 best quarterbacks in college football today in Matt Corral and Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young is that good.
If he has a great performance tonight, he is the Heisman frontrunner.
I think whoever wins this game is your Heisman frontrunner.
Corral's already there.
Yeah, based on Vegas odds, yeah. But again, he hadn't played anybody.
Can they lose the game and he's still the frontrunner?
I guess. If Ole Miss was to win 10 games and Corral puts up monster numbers, he could still win the Heisman. I don't know who else is in the mix. It's Corral, it's Bryce Young. Who else do you have?
Well, the voters always tend to go with the top teams in the country. That's just how it is. Corral is not benched. They took him out of the game for the fourth quarter in a stat-stuffing opportunity earlier this year. They had 61 points at the end of 3. He could have piled up more. And a lot of these guys just look at a stat sheet at the end of the season and say, I'm going to vote this guy 1, 2, 3. That's how it is. So the marquee matchups and the wins, people remember that.
Yeah, Corral's got to win. He's got to have those Heisman moments. He's got to be able to win some of these big games. And we go back to last year. The one thing he's not doing is turning the football over. He's yet to turn the football over. And last year, I think against Arkansas, 5 turnovers. Against LSU, 6 turnovers.
6.
And so you're kind of waiting for that Matt Corral moment. Is it today in Tuscaloosa? If he turns the ball over 2 or 3 times, Alabama wins this game by 21.
Don't underestimate. It's the dual threat that makes him such a threat against this defense, because he rushed for 500 yards last year. 128 against, was it Arkansas at the end of the season? How much can his legs play a factor in this game today?
Oh, huge. Yeah. You go back to last year and what Jerrion Ely and Snoop Connor were able to do against this Alabama defense. They ran at will. And I really believe, and I talked about this at SEC Media Days, that Nick Saban, everybody was talking about this Texas A&M game, which you guys will be at next week.
Yep.
Lost a little bit of luster, right?
A little bit.
Just a little.
Everybody was talking about Alabama's got this game circled. And I was like, no, they've got the Ole Miss game circled, because Ole Miss ran the football down their throat. They scored 48 points. They gave up a historically the worst in Alabama history, I think 647 yards last year. So Nick Saban circled this game. He doesn't like Lane Kiffin. He wants to prove a point today, and he wants to not only beat Ole Miss, he wants to beat Ole Miss bad.
Lance Taylor is our guest for the entire hour. And Lance, every week we have a ridiculous SEC story of the week. There is no shortage of ridiculous SEC stories. We all have our own way of prepping for Ole Miss, Alabama, but there's one 37-year-old this week that might take the cake, Matthew Williamson, and actually it's going to be chicken fingers instead of cake. So he was found in the Alabama press box, surrounded by chicken fingers, chips, and meth. He's ready. He's ready for the game.
Yeah. I like the chicken fingers. I like the chips. I haven't gone the meth route, but wow, that's interesting.
The biggest
he got
surprise.
into the press box.
The biggest surprise of the headline is it's chicken fingers and then other items
get
and
some
meth.
Yeah.
Meth was the last thing listed. That's like the
That
first
should
thing
be
you
the
notice, is it
headline.
not?
Right.
Oh, by the way, this guy had some meth on him in the press box. How does he get up in the press box?
Great question.
How do you get meth into the press box? Like, I can't even get miniatures in. I mean, really, they frisk me for miniatures, and this guy gets meth in. That's incredible.
Maybe you need to call him up. Matthew Williamson. He's being
He's a
held
winner.
on $32,000 bond right now here in town.
So where's he from? Pleasant Grove?
Yeah, Pleasant.
Yeah, okay.
Pleasant
I know
Grove.
where that is,
Yep,
yeah.
there you go.
This would be a great story for trash on Monday.
Yeah, it should be.
I just don't know how you make it the headline in a newspaper or a website. It's like he's found with chicken fingers and and all this and meth. Like you lead with that.
They also ran.
Yeah, just randomly.
When we have chicken fingers, that reminds me that we are here at the tailgate. We have Paxton. She is inside once again. Taste of the tailgate. It's probably the best segment that we have, Lance. Let's be honest, because Paxton is in there. What do we have going on right now? What are we going to be eating this time?
Well, I'm here with Trip Rogers, the one and only, the guy at Innisfree. Apparently, everyone in this bar knows him, which is, that's incredible. Do you like that?
Well, I kind of stick out being bald.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. You could have put the hat on, but we saw how that happened in the first segment. So, what do we have here?
Right here, we're going to finish up on our third one with the RMFT hot dog. Fried tomatoes, a little relish with some mustard, and a grilled all-beef hot dog.
Okay, so I'm going to hand you this mic because I don't think I
You're
can do
definitely
this
trying it
one
before I
hand.
will.
Yeah. All right, we're just going to go for it. Feel free to commentate.
Oh, this is going to be good. Look at the relish going in.
Okay, so it's tasty. What's on top of that?
So we got fried tomatoes, relish, and a little bit of mustard.
It's the fried tomatoes
So
that really
fried
threw me
tomatoes
off.
is what seals the deal, right?
Looks like we've paired this with some
and our homemade chips. Yes, our homemade chips and our homemade onion dip.
Okay, so this looks like a headache. What is this?
And so this is what we promised a little bit earlier. We teased it earlier. This is our Sabanade. So I can't tell you exactly what's in it, but it's good, and you'll enjoy it.
Is this like a classier version of what you get in like the cooler at a frat party?
Exactly.
Perfect. Love that. So let's try it.
So
Cheers.
enjoy it. Cheers. Roll Tide.
Yeah, that feels like a headache going down. All right. Well, I feel like that's it. Unless you have anything else for
we
me.
have one last thing.
Okay. That
And
feels
as an
like
Irish
I'm
pub,
nervous.
We're famous for obviously serving the perfect Guinness, and that's what we love to do. But we have a little variation. It's called a mini Guinea, and it is the exact opposite of a Guinness. It's got a little tequila and a little Bailey's. So if you like coffee, this will be your favorite shot you've ever had.
Okay. It is in the morning, so.
Cheers.
I mean, that feels strong going down, that's for sure. Me and tequila aren't friends, so that, maybe acquaintances. But, well, thanks for this wonderful meal and basically feeding me lunch with wings, wrap, and a hot dog before
We
noon.
appreciate y'all coming to Tuscaloosa. This has been fantastic. It's been a great morning, a great way to start off a game day.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to keep drinking this Sabanade, even though I'm a UT fan. Don't tell my parents because they'll be pissed.
Roll Tide.
Paxton, if you had to pick the wings, the wrap, or the dog that you just had, what's number one?
Honestly, I'm probably going wings
Yeah.
because I, conquered that eating it one-handed with a microphone, and overall that just felt more, right. Felt at home eating wings at 8 a.m. But, I mean, honestly, everything's really great. The drinks, fire. You guys should try it. The Sabanade, so.
All right. I mean, Lance, we've established that you basically live here. Have you had a Sabanade?
I had one yesterday. As Tripp said, I don't think he knows what they put in it, but yeah, I had a couple. That's what got me going. And I'm telling you, you better get Paxton away from Tripp or somebody's going to be holding her hair in a couple hours.
This is the moonshine tasting from last week on steroids, is what he's saying.
By far.
Yeah.
I can't believe I missed that. Do we get to do something like that today?
Come on to Nashville.
Well, why can't we do something like that here at Innisfree?
We can do it here.
I'm sure that if you ask those kind of people inside,
whatever you guys want, I can get out here.
They will set drinks in front of you right now, and you can do whatever.
What about you? What about we?
That's a you thing. That's
collective group here.
I don't know.
Team effort.
Team bonding, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
It's still early in the day. I'm a lightweight, Lance.
It kind of is a little early.
I mean, not for Paxton though. She's
apparently not.
Putting them
She's
down.
already doing tequila shots.
What is the what's the feeling about Kiffin here from fans? They love him as much as nationally everyone loves him.
I think it's split. It's weird, Hutton, that a lot of people talk about. There still is. People are trying to figure out who is going to be the next guy after Nick Saban. And there are some people that think Lane Kiffin could be that guy. I think that's impossible. So I think there's a lot of Alabama fans that respect him. But you go back and how the divorce happened between Saban and Kiffin. I mean, that was during a college football playoff run. And if Saban doesn't have to basically send him home and fire him, there's a good chance Alabama wins a national championship. So it really was embarrassing how the end came between Kiffin and Nick Saban.
So if it's not Lane Kiffin that is the next Nick Saban, then who would you put?
Oh.
Who would putting on that pedestal?
I have no idea. I really don't.
This is that summer topic when you need
it's hard.
It is because people say Dabo Swinney. He played here. He's a great coach. But if I'm Dabo, why would you leave Clemson? You've already outside of this year, you've got a machine established. You've already got your statue built, and to come back to Alabama, you could. I don't want to say you can only taint your legacy, but I don't know really what else Dabo can do. He can make as much money as he wants. He can obviously win championships there. I don't know who takes his job. I really have no idea.
I love how everyone is like, when will Clemson be back? The answer is next year. They will reload next year.
They will, yeah. I mean Clemson's not going anywhere.
Do they jump in the transfer portal, though, to do it? Because they haven't.
They absolutely
That's not
should.
a thing that they do right now.
They'll reload. I mean, that's when they get their depth back.
I just don't know.
Everybody but Bama takes dips like this.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you're right. It's really weird. I don't know if Ohio State does. I guess they can.
But even they have a little.
Maybe a little bit.
Look at them this year, right? Like I look at just look at what Clemson lost offensively. They are just begging that their offensive line hangs on, the starting five.
Well, that's what's so weird is Clemson. I think you've got good receivers. I think Nada and Ross are good receivers. I don't know if Ross is ever going to be the Ross we saw, and it seems like forever ago when they won that national championship against Alabama. But the offensive line's a mess. Will Shipley is not what we thought he would be as a freshman, and DJ is just not playing good football.
ETN, I mean, he was out there as a running back, but they used him in the passing game so much, and I feel like that's something that they lack, and it obviously replacing somebody of that caliber, you knew it was going to be difficult, but I think it was harder than they anticipated.
Well, you wonder, you talk about the transfer portal, how Michigan State's able to get a Kenneth Walker, a guy like that. Imagine if Kenneth Walker was playing for Clemson. What a difference maker he's been for the Spartans.
Well, this is the best example.
Or Zach Charbonnet for UCLA.
This is the best example, LT, of the depth that Alabama and Georgia possess that really no one else has. I mean, because you just reload. You have a guy who's sitting and waiting, another 5-star to replace. And it's not every day that you are able to do that, especially at quarterback, running back, wide receiver. That's what happens here. And Clemson's trying to reload because they didn't hit on that reload button when Trevor Lawrence left.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because, I mean, it seems like Dabo has always gotten the quarterback position right. I mean, I think Deshaun Watson was actually better than Trevor Lawrence. And then you get Trevor Lawrence, and we know what a talent he was. And just watching DJ in a couple of spots last year, a road start against Notre Dame, he looked really good to me. Again, this is my jinx factor. I said DJ was going to win the Heisman. I said Clemson was going to win the national championship. I don't think those are possible.
Alabama lost the last time you were at the game.
No.
I'm just
I'm a
feeling
mess.
bad
Again,
karma.
0-2 last night.
All over the place. That's right. 0-2 on
It's
your pick.
October, though.
So when we come back, Lance is going to try and make up for 100 points that you lost
I'm going
last night?
undefeated.
15-0.
I will say this. I have gone undefeated on NFL Sundays. I was 4-0 going into last Sunday night. I have never had an undefeated Saturday. Today is the day.
Today
I'm
is
going
the day.
13-0 today.
Stick with us. OutKick the Tailgate, presented by Farmfolio, with our picks against the spread coming back after this.
There's never been a more challenging time to be an investor. Your stock markets are overvalued by every measure with record low cap rates. Cryptocurrency can go from boom to bust overnight, and inflation is making everything hard to predict. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just sit back and watch your money grow? That's where Farmfolio comes in. Farmland ownership made easy. Farmland's an asset class that's often overlooked, but it's one that's consistently delivered higher returns than other investments with significantly less volatility. You can buy a farm lot from Farmfolio, and we'll manage every aspect of your farm property, from crop care, harvesting, and sales of your produce through our company-owned packing facilities and international sales offices. With Farmfolio, farmland ownership has never been easier. Simply sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. Farmfolio, you own, we farm.
Catch me if you can. 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 Catch me if you can.
OutKick the Tailgate, presented by Farmfolio, our final segment. Picks against the spread, powered by FanDuel. This is where Lance Taylor is going to be making his comeback. This is going to be exciting for you specifically because
Let's not say like 2021's been complete destruction.
no, it was just last night.
It was just last night.
It
Last
just
night was
last
awful.
night.
I couldn't
Lance's
get
locks.
any worse.
You can play these games as if they've already been played.
Yes, like today. I mean, jump on board, lanceslog.com. I've got a website. I don't know if you know this. I'm a professional. I was 0-2 last night. I was able at halftime of both games to tweet out, I apologize to everyone. I swear. I'm 0-2. I can go on and accept that, but tomorrow is going to be a better day. So I feel really good about today.
This is how we start to make it up.
Yes.
Right here,
Yes.
right now. Our first game, the game that we are here for, Ole Miss at Alabama. Bama.
You start with a heavy one, don't
by
you?
14 and a half.
Okay, so this is one of those situations. I am a contrarian. Hutton, I think you know this about me.
Yep.
So I like to play against the public typically. There's like 65% of the money is on the underdog in this spot. Let's go back. As bad as Alabama was defensively last year against Ole Miss, they would have covered this number. They won by 15 points. This will be a great game for the first half. Alabama will pull away in the second half. I think Alabama wins this game by 21 to 24 points. I like Alabama minus the 14.
I'm sticking with what I bet early in the week, which was taking the points in this matchup, because I believe if you are, Jill, if you believe that this game goes similar fashion than to last year, where it's 42 all in the fourth quarter.
Which I'm hoping it does.
This is a cover this year compared to last year.
Well, I don't
Let's
care
go.
whether or not it does or doesn't. I mean, I didn't give this pick out. I thought it was a little too difficult. I'm just saying I lean Alabama right now.
Okay.
I would take the points in this game today.
I got a
for Ole
feeling
Miss.
you would take the points too, right?
For sure. That's what I want to see, so that's what I'm going with.
Okay.
All right,
enough.
the other big SEC game, Arkansas at Georgia, the Bulldogs by 18.5. Somebody's excited back here.
So I think Georgia's got an elite defense. I don't know where they are on offense. I give Sam Pittman a lot of credit. I think this is when personnel catches up. I thought it would happen last week to Arkansas. I was completely wrong. I did have Arkansas against Texas. I liked A&M last week. I think Georgia's just too much. I think they wear them down. I think Georgia wins this game going away. I think Georgia wins this game by 28 points.
Yeah.
And it seems like Kirby has got foot on pedal right now. Doesn't want to let off.
I said a couple of weeks ago, and I still maintain, we're going to see two unbeaten teams in Atlanta with Alabama and Georgia.
And whoever
Part
loses
one of
that
two.
game is still going to go to the college football
part one
playoff.
of two.
Yeah,
right?
you're right, yeah.
And with that in mind, I would bet Georgia on this line. This is a weird, it's been around 18.5. I saw it this morning at 17, but it hasn't really gone back or forth. There's been a ton of talk about Arkansas, but Lance, you would know better than me following these spreads on a daily basis. It's not like it's fluctuated all that much.
You want some history?
Sure do.
Okay, so at 18.5, where this number was yesterday, and it even fluctuates to that at some point today, this is the largest number between a top 10 matchup in the SEC in SEC history. The previous high was 18, Alabama a couple of years ago over A&M. They won that game by 19. So this is a big number, but it's a big number for a reason. Vegas knows what they're doing here.
This is a small number. Cincinnati favored by 1.5 at Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is living on borrowed lives. I don't know what's going on. They're not good. To me, their offensive line's not good. They can't run the football. Now, I'm bitter. I had Wisconsin last week, minus 5.5 against Notre Dame. They lost the game 41-13. I'm not selling myself well here.
They lost 31-3.
But
in the
that
fourth.
game, it was 13-10 early in the fourth quarter. Wisconsin's defense was playing their asses off. Notre Dame's offense isn't that good. I like Cincinnati here. I think Cincinnati up front defensively will give that offensive line a lot of trouble for Notre Dame. And I think Desmond Ridder has a big game here.
Cincinnati has a ton of speed on the outside, on the perimeter. This game comes down to running the football for Cincy. Can they do it? If Cincy can break the mold and be in the college football playoff, there's been some craziness, a lot of top 25 losses so far. This is one of those, you got to go unbeaten, but this is laid out perfectly for them. Notre Dame, though, Lance, they have been, you can't argue, they've been tested. They've won close games. They've had big quarters. They've won in overtime. I'm looking at the 2-point spread. I think the wrong team's favored today. I really do. I would take the Irish.
You?
I'm going to go with the Irish.
I would
Good.
take the
I
Irish.
like the fact that I'm
That's
against
it.
both of you guys
Yeah.
on our first couple of plays.
Do you?
I feel really good about
All right.
Cincinnati in this spot.
But
But how do you deny, real quick,
I wouldn't bet this, though.
if Cincinnati goes undefeated again and you have a 2-loss Clemson ACC champion,
No,
you
they're
have to
not
put
getting it.
Cincinnati in front.
Cincy's in.
You agree?
With 100%.
The perception of Clemson right now is completely different than what we would have said in the scenario
Absolutely.
before kickoff of the season.
Yeah, but I do think
A
Cincinnati.
2-loss Clemson is different now than what we would have said in August.
100%. And Cincinnati, Indiana's not as good as we thought they were
Right.
going to be, but still, it's a nice road win, able to come back from double digits. If they're able to win this game against the top 10 Notre Dame today, and by the time they play SMU, I believe SMU will be a top 20 team.
The big noon kickoff, Michigan at Wisconsin. Wisconsin favored by 1.5. Michigan started out being favored in this one. Michigan's gotten hammered by the Badgers the last 2 years. So how do you see this one playing?
So Harbaugh is 0-11 straight up as an underdog. He has never won a game in Michigan as an underdog. Wisconsin, slight favorite here. I am stubborn. I played Wisconsin week 1 against Penn State. Their defense, again, played their asses off, and they lost. And then I played them last week. I'm going to play them again. I like the Badgers here.
Oh.
If Wisconsin's defense comes to play and they lose this game, Jim Leonard just needs to find another job.
One of us, we're going dead broke today because I'm against you again. I think the wrong team's favored. Michigan can pile up yards on the ground. Harbaugh has said this is a benchmark game for his program.
Okay, so Quorum and Haskins have been really good on the ground, but do you understand Wisconsin is giving up 23 yards per game rushing on the ground?
Wisconsin's
defense
lost
is lights
7
out.
straight against top 25 opponents. Wrong team's favorite.
Okay, Harbaugh has never won again as an underdog. Wisconsin wins this game.
31-3. That's my
I'm
answer.
31-3.
Still going with
31-3,
Hutton
fourth
on
quarter.
this one.
Well, you're Big Ten, so you would know,
Big
right?
Ten.
I'm scared to pick Michigan. Like, I don't like that as a feeling, but I think that's the right call.
Okay, again,
today.
I feel y'all are making me feel better about this.
Good. We'll go back to the SEC. Back to your country. Florida 7.5 at Kentucky.
Again, Kentucky hasn't won in Lexington since 1986 against the Gators. I've just got a feeling Will Levis is a very confident quarterback. I don't know how good he is. I think he's a big improvement, though, from Mark Stoops from what he's had over the last couple of years. And I think Wan'Dale Robinson will have a really good game. And I'm not sure. Emory Jones seems like he's getting better, but on the road in this environment, I think it's a really tight game. I think Florida somehow finds a way to win this game, but I like Kentucky to cover.
I think Kentucky can win outright if if everything comes together the right way. We haven't seen them click in that way yet. Lance, this is one of those games I would bet Kentucky in the first half, and then I would take Florida for the game. This is, by the way, Withrow's lock.
Very
of the week.
specific, by the way. Wait,
I
what does
think Kentucky
Withrow have?
plays close. I don't know what the first half is. I mean, 7.5.
No, who does he have for the game?
Oh, he has Florida. That's his lock of the week. Florida minus the points.
Chad, who is out at a bachelor party in Scottsdale, Arizona this weekend, leaving us high and dry.
I don't blame him.
Decided that was going to be his lock of the week.
I want Kentucky to win just to see what happens in the East for the battle for second behind Georgia.
Yeah, well, I mean, we say that, but I mean, if Florida wins this game convincingly, and then you go back to what Florida was able to do against Alabama, I mean, we've got to start giving Florida a little consideration.
And then the cocktail party's coming up.
Yeah.
We already talked about this one. Auburn at LSU. LSU favored by 3.5.
I'm going to lean LSU. It comes down to who's starting at quarterback. I'm probably wrong. I think TJ Finley starts. Everybody else thinks Bo Nix starts. If Bo Nix starts, I feel really good about LSU. But I'm going to take LSU in this spot, but I don't like it at all.
Auburn
Tough game.
They just looked lost last week, right? And look, LSU's at home. Auburn looked lost. I feel as though I judged LSU way too early in the season with their loss to UCLA. I would take the Tigers at home, the home Tigers tonight.
Okay.
Let's go on to those Bruins, though, my friends in the Pac-12. Arizona State at UCLA. The Bruins favored by 3.5.
Chip Kelly's done a really good job this year. Their ability to run the football is going to be key in this spot. I think Jaden Daniels will be the difference. I kind of like Arizona State. Whoever wins this game wins the Pac-12 South. I do feel good about that. I don't know how they'll match up against Oregon, but I think Arizona State goes on the road, wins a tight game tonight.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
Chip Kelly runs the ball 68% of the time. He will run it until ASU can stop him.
They put up
That's
35
not
or
gonna
more
happen.
each game so far. Arizona State is just way too undisciplined for me to put my money behind them. They have
Lots of
43
penalties.
penalties in the last three games.
Yep.
I mean, it's just sloppy, and that you can't win. You can't win against the spread playing that type of way. Stay away from this game.
I would stay away from this game, too. But if I have to play it, I'm playing Arizona State.
We're going to the state of Texas. Texas, the Longhorns, favored by 5.5 at TCU.
Yeah, I've got a feeling, honestly, this will be like if you ask different sports books, the most amount of money on one side, I think it will be on Texas. Gary Patterson 6-1 against the Horns. I like Duggan at quarterback. They didn't play well defensively. The last couple of games, they've given up over 1,000 yards against Cal and against SMU. I think this will be an absolute shootout, but I like TCU in this spot. I think TCU can win this game.
Are you believing in Casey Thompson?
I think Casey Thompson's pretty good. I think he's got a quarterback. I don't think he has a defense.
I wonder what would have happened if Thompson started against Arkansas, for instance.
Different
120. What are they scoring? 128 points in the last two games.
Yeah.
Texas.
No, the
You
offense.
have to ride that.
Sark's got the offense down.
You have to ride that.
Yeah, I just don't think the defense is that good.
I'm putting this on as my parlay pick, my lock of the week. I'm going with Texas for the sole fact that they have not punted in 2 games. Fake it till you make it. They believe it.
That's like me
They're
back in the
coming up.
Madden days. I never dressed
This
a
is
punt.
it.
That's pretty
They
incredible.
haven't punted in 2 games.